Okay, the public hearing by the Downers Grove Planning and Zoning Commission will now be called to order May 4th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Roll call.
All right, Frankovic.
Here.
Patel.
Here.
Toth is absent. Lincoln.
Present.
Eberhart.
Here.
Reyes.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Barry.
Here.
Chairman Rickard.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay, just our typical three standing announcements before every meeting. If you have an electronic device, if you could please silence that for the duration of the meeting, that would be appreciated. Also, all the material will display on the screens. If you choose to follow along on an electronic device, there is a QR code on the side of the room you can scan to get to the agenda. And there is also a sign-in sheet. If you could please make sure you sign that before you leave the meeting. That's how we record on the minutes who was in attendance. So if you could please make sure to sign that. We usually approve minutes at this time, but we don't have any minutes to approve tonight. So we're going to jump down the list here. So we have 4 public hearings tonight, and you can see the order we're going to take them in on the agenda, but I'm going to kind of quickly go through the procedures that we typically go through during these public hearings, just in case there's anybody here who's not familiar. I'm going to guess most of you are generally familiar. But we start off with the petitioner presentation. So the petitioner will come down to the podium and they will present their case, their application, followed by questions from the plan commissioners. Next, we'll go to public testimony. That'll be the public's opportunity to come up, ask questions, make comments, that type of thing. And then we go to the staff report. So a member of staff will then present the staff report from the village's behalf, and followed by questions from the plan commission of the staff. At that point, we allow the petitioner to come back a second time to address any comments that came up during the segments prior. And then after that, we will move out of the public testimony portion, and we'll get into discussion up here and deliberation. And ultimately, we'll get to a point here where we'll make a motion to pass this on to village council, where they'll make final decisions on all these cases tonight. And then staff will provide you with kind of meeting information or dates for the next step. So with that, because this is a public hearing, we do need to swear everybody in. We do that as a group at this point. If you could please raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, state in the affirmative, I do. Okay, thank you. And with that, we will jump into the first public hearing, which is 26 PZC 0011. Petitioner seeking approval of a special use to operate car wash and associated variances. The property is currently zoned B3, general services and highway business, located about 330 feet southwest of the intersection of Butterfield Road and Downers Drive, commonly known as 1341 Butterfield Road. Vincenzo Nazo, if I pronounce that correctly, is the petitioner and the Butterfield commercial owner. So I'm not sure who's going to present on that one for the applicant, but if you want to come on down to the podium, or if you have a group of people, that's fine. But if you could just start off with everybody's name and introduction, and then.
Mitchell Harvey with Stonefield Engineering.
I am Gabe Schuckman with Al Car Wash.
I'm Hannah Saed with Elrod Friedman, the Zoning Council.
It's all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us this evening. I really appreciate it. My name is Gabe Schuckman. I'm with Al Car Wash, a partner in the business. I'd just like to give you a quick introduction and background on our company and who we are. Mitch and Hannah will do a presentation about the project itself and the development. I'm excited to be here this evening. Al Car Wash was founded in 2011. We're founded in Miami, Florida. In 2018, my partner and I self-bought the business. We decided to expand it. Fast forward to today, we have over 100 locations nationwide. We started in Florida. We're currently in Florida, Michigan, the Chicagoland market, Philadelphia, New Jersey. We're really excited to be here in the Chicagoland market and coming here to the Downers Grove community. We're very excited for that. 30% of our company is employee owned. Our average location has 12 to 16 employees. Store managers making nearly $100,000 and our hourly employees making over $25 an hour. So providing, great wages. Given the fact that we're an employee-owned company, we're very, very focused on community engagement and giving back to the community. Outside of providing a, terrific car wash product and, being the best in the business, we also like to give back to the community. So we do a lot of different nonprofit work for a lot of different local organizations. So I'd be happy to speak more about that today as well. But our core values are people, excellence, community growth, and fun. And that's what we focus on day in, day out at the car washes. With that said, I'm happy to answer any further questions about the company, but just high level questions we typically get: hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. is our hours of operation. We're a membership driven business. About 90% of our customers that come in, day out to the car wash are members of the car wash. Part of their daily needs routines. We typically see between 400 to 500 customers at Air Car Washes a day. So not an overly intensive traffic business by any means, given the membership orientation of our business. We do a lot of work to minimize noise. Our vacuums are enclosed in concrete. The dryers are noiseless, noiseless blowers that we utilize. And we also, in products that we use in the car wash itself, the soaps are all the types of soaps that you would find at your home. So nothing toxic for the area. In addition to that, we reuse 90% of our water. So as the water's coming through, we reuse 90% of it to make sure we're not doing anything that's going to hurt the city utility systems. Mitch is going to speak a little bit more about that. But again, happy to answer any questions today, and I'll kick it off to Mitch to talk more about the project itself.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gabe. Again, Mitch Harvey. I'm with Stonefield Engineering. I'm the civil engineer on the project. Just going to walk through the site plan. I'm assuming that everybody can see what's up on the screen. So just general traffic circulation to the site. Access to the site is going to remain and Oak Grove Drive. The vehicles will enter the site and circulate to the south of the property. That's where they'll have they'll enter the stacking lane. We have 26 stacking spaces. 6 spaces are required by code. They will then go through the pay stations. Those pay stations are on the east side. You can see by those 3 trees right there. Those pay stations are equipped with LPRs or license plate readers. So that quickly takes a picture of your license plate and, oh, you're a member, opens up the arm and you go on through. Once you get past those pay stations, you'll then enter the tunnel itself, get your car washed, and then you exit, and then you can take a left and circulate into the vacuum area. In the vacuum area, we have 20 vac spaces, and then kind of central to the site, we have one fully enclosed vac producer. So that's a concrete structure that fully enclosed the motors that actually produce the suction for each of those 20 vac spaces. One of the largest improvements to the site that I want to highlight is landscaping wise. So we're going to be bringing 39 new trees to the site, and compared to the existing site, we're bringing just under 7,000 square feet of new green space to the site. All this new landscaping, or a lot of this new landscaping, is going to be focused on the north, east, and west of the site along those frontage roads. Site lighting is going to be provided with dark sky compliant downlit LED fixtures that meet all zone ordinance requirements. I want to highlight, so we're requesting 2 variances this evening. The first is for the side parking or pavement setback along the east along Downers. So in red, you can see where that 25 foot encroachment is. We're actually 9 feet from the property line there. And I wanted to show this slide because I think this does a good job of overlaying our site onto the existing conditions of the site. So as you can see, the existing site has parking all the way up to the road to the north, east, as well as to the west. So really with this site, we tried to do everything we can to really pull that in and meet these 25-foot pavement setbacks. And as you can see here, this is the green area that we're going to be adding. So we did as much as we could to kind of conform to that 25-foot parking or Greenbelt area. And it's just that knob up there to the north that we encroach on. Kind of some of the justifications is why we believe that this variance is acceptable. Fully complying with this setback will not allow for a functional car wash. It really restricts the site, as you can tell from kind of how the original restaurant user was developed. You know, there's parking spaces all the way to the east, all the way to the west, and all the way to the north. Uniqueness to the site. One thing about this site that is fairly unique is it essentially has 3 frontages. So to the west, to the north, to the east, those all have a 25-foot parking setback, if you will. So really that is starting to pinch down the developable area of the site and really is a unique feature. Typical properties have 1 frontage or maybe a corner lot, they'll have 2 frontages, but rarely do we see a property that has 3 sides of roadway frontage. Looking up and down the corridor there, we don't think that this variance request is going to alter the character of the neighborhood. It is in line with all the commercial uses around us, as well as some of the office uses to the south and to the east. And we definitely think that it is not going to alter the character of the corridor. The other variance that we're requesting is for the we're required to have 2 drying spaces at the exit of the wash. We are proposing 1. A few things I want to touch on here. Really, this car wash, as mentioned, is using a state-of-the-art drying equipment package. So this drying system strips the water off of the flat surfaces as well as the hard-to-reach spaces of the vehicle. So the car comes out a lot drier than some of the older style car washes. With that being the case, we don't have people on the exit of the car wash drying your car. So there's no towels drying your car afterwards. You pull out and you either go into the vacuum space or you exit the site. So really what we wanted to do is kind of focus on maintaining some of the green spaces to the east and to the west of our site instead of proposing a largely unused drying lane. The drying lane that we do have, that 1 lane on the exit is going to be paved with heated concrete. So that'll reduce any ice buildup during the winter months. Again, just going through the justification, and I did probably mention a lot of these as I was discussing it. Maintaining circulation to the site is really hindering the site by maintaining that existing curb cut to the north there. It doesn't give us room to make this second drying lane. We also, again, are constrained by the 3 roadway frontages, so that's taking 25 feet off the east and 25 feet off the west of the property that we don't want to put, or we want to limit the amount of pavement in there. So that's kind of squeezing us down in that east-west direction. And again, we wanted to focus on maintaining the green space along those frontage roads. So we believe that's a unique circumstance associated with the site. And again, there's going to be no negative impact associated with this lack of 1 drying space because we do not need it because there's no towel drying. So with that, I'll hand it over to Hannah to discuss the special land use criteria. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where do you want to?
Thanks, Mitch. In addition to the 2 variances that we're requesting, we are also requesting a special use permit for a car wash in the B3 district. Going through some of the criteria for a special use, a car wash is specifically listed as a special use in the B3. A car wash is considered a personal vehicle repair and maintenance use, which includes uses that wash, clean, or otherwise protect the exterior or interior surfaces of vehicles. Some of the other standards is that the proposed use will not, in this case, be detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of the community. As Gabe mentioned earlier, we pride ourselves on being very environmentally friendly, not using any substances that would be harmful to the environment or that would negatively impact the utilities of Downers Grove. Touching on some of the other criteria, the proposed use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate area. The car wash isn't anticipated to produce any kind of odors, smoke, noise. Something that El Car Wash prides itself on is how quiet the use is. The headquarters in Doral, Florida is actually above one of the car washes. So to have a office space directly above a car wash is a testament to how quiet and how undisruptive it is to the immediate area. And finally, looking at the last special use criteria, the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of adjacent property. It's a self-contained use. All activity is on the site. We don't anticipate generating too much traffic. All the traffic will be internalized through on-site circulation and stacking. So with the thoughtful stacking and internal circulation, we don't anticipate there being any kind of traffic disorder. And I'll pass it on to Gabe to talk about the traffic, or Mitch to talk about the traffic study.
So just real quickly regarding the traffic, we did prepare a traffic study for the site. All surrounding intersections are going to continue to operate at an acceptable level of service, even into the future projected years. Really, the car wash use doesn't generate significantly more trips than the existing use, which is the restaurant. We prepared a report, and basically we're adding 10 trips an hour, 10 new vehicles an hour, and that's without a reduction for the car wash use. Typical people use car washes as part of a trip train. So if they're going to the grocery store, they'll get a car wash. If they're going to soccer practice, they'll stop and get a car wash on their way home. Typically people don't leave their house to go to get a car wash. Some people do. So some data points to that you could provide a 50% reduction for these trips for car washes. We wanted to be conservative and just say no reduction. And we're pretty close to the similar amount of trips that would be produced from sit-down restaurant that currently exists today. So that's all I have on traffic. And then finally, the elevations, and turn it over to Gabe.
You gave me the pretty pictures. Is that the?
You got the pretty pictures.
These are elevations, just high quality building materials. That's what Downer Grove. We're excited to do that in Downer Grove. These are our standard elevations. Happy to answer any questions with respects to them.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, any questions for petitioner at this time?
I've got a couple. Thank you for the presentation. Could you just walk me through the drying lane? So customer exits the tunnel, and then there's an exclusive space for the customer to dry their vehicle. I think.
Yeah. So let's go back to the site plan. Usually they give me the lasers and I end up blinding somebody. Luckily, it's not a laser today. So at the car wash, so I think the zoning code requires like a drying space, but we don't have a drying space. So it's a touchless service. I mean, so we have what happens is you go through the gates, to enter into the car wash. There's somebody loading the car onto the track to enter into the car wash. And once you get through the blowers, it says, take your car from neutral to drive and you drive through, but there's nobody at the end of the tunnel drying off your car. I think the zoning code requires us, like they assume the old style car wash where somebody's actually hand drying the car for you. We don't provide that service because the goal is for the car to come out dry out of the tunnel. That's what we really pride ourselves on. So that's the discrepancy between our business model and what's typically been in the car wash business.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I tried to get this from the drawings, but I had a hard time seeing this. What's the total length of the tunnel?
The tunnel's 120 feet.
120. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. And that's and we have tunnels in Florida that are 90 to 100 feet, and 120 feet is more than long enough for us to do the drying and to wash the car appropriately.
Okay, any other questions for the petitioner at this time? Anybody? Mr. Lincoln?
A couple. What is the worst stacking that you've seen at any of your facilities? Like, what's the most cars in a queue backed up from the actual car wash itself?
Yeah, that's a great question. So We opened up 5 locations in Metro Detroit in the past 18 months, and similar weather in Detroit as it is in Chicago. The most stacking that we've encountered in total has been 20 to 25 cars. So here with 27 car stacking, we would never stack past out the stacking lanes. And we also have data that we put together. We just pulled the daily data of all the car washes in Detroit. The average daily traffic's between 400 to 500 cars. Our busiest car wash in Metro Detroit, which is in Brighton, Michigan, that sees about 550, 560 cars on average. So, kind of break out those numbers. At a peak period, we're seeing 70 to 80 cars an hour, at a high period for us. We can take a car through the wash in 75 seconds. And you don't have a lot of stacking with us also. What reduces the stacking is that 90% of our customers are membership based. So they're quickly going, they're going into the lanes. The gate goes up because they're recognizing the license plate reader, and they can quickly process and queue through the site. Typically, people only vacuum 10 to 15% of the time. So, given all those different things, we're getting people on and off the site, very, very quickly. We're also a cashless business. So there's no, cash transaction. There's no cash on the site. So we're never getting slowed down where somebody's trying to find $5 or $7, to pay for their car wash. So we really, really promote the membership model to get people quickly through our washes. Also, back to the original point, the old style car wash, you'd get through the dryer, then you need somebody to hand dry the car. And that adds a lot of time to the transaction or to the service. So by having a really state-of-the-art technology and great blowers, we can really get people quickly through it. So, and we're a membership-driven business. The last thing we want to be known is the car wash that people stack into the road, and nobody wants to see us. Like, we completely avoid that. I think a lot of car washes, they try to find that half-acre site or that quarter-acre site that's just not big enough to do business on that February day where you have salt on the road and it's sunny outside and everybody wants to get their car washed. We don't want to be stacking back on the roads where the community hates us and doesn't let us build another car wash. We want to be the group that can process the cars and do a good job. So we're fanatical about not being that group.
The illustration you gave with, 20, 25 cars, that's not most of the time.
No.
It's like after a
That's
day or,
exactly. That's your February 13th on a Saturday afternoon at 3:00. That's like, that's when it is. But if you go there on a Monday through Friday, it's typically going to be 2-3 cars in the queue is what you're going to see.
So is, looking at the site plan here, where is that 26, 27 last car sitting?
So it would be sitting, I wish I had that laser pointer. What's
All
this?
the way to the south, there's an arrow that shows the entrance into the stacking lane. All the way in the bottom right. So that's the start of those 26 spaces. And then that wraps around the back of the site, up on the right, and then into the wash. And those 26 spaces do not include anything within the car wash itself.
So, and 120 feet, we could have 5 to 6 cars in the wash itself at any given moment as well. 20 foot in a car on average, 20 foot length car on average.
So when they come out of the tunnel, they can go right or left?
Correct.
And so you could still be having cars come in from the frontage road?
Correct. So you can have cars coming. Yeah, you can have cars coming in from the frontage road, or and there's really 2 points of access, into the site itself. So they could be coming in from 2 distinct points. Correct. Yeah, those 2-lane roads. So we have 24 feet off of the frontage road, and then obviously the access point. So 24 feet's a typical length of a typical width of a drive aisle.
I have one more question. If you've had other, car washes built that are 90, 100 feet, why this one 120 feet with the variance request?
So you can process cars faster at 120 feet. You can add more services for the car. It's just a better car wash and a better drying coming out of it. It's just a better product for the customer.
Thank you.
I feel like that begs the question though, how much faster? I mean, because that's realistically, we're trying to balance providing a variance.
Right.
I mean, they put that in the code for a reason.
Right.
So we have to weigh, if you have a number that can tell us, well, we're able to process cars this much faster, reduces the stacking, it's way less cars backing up into the road, then,
I think it's all of it. So it's probably 30 seconds. It's probably 30 seconds faster to process the cars if you go between the 90, 100-foot tunnel and the 120-foot tunnel. We built a 90-foot tunnel in Sterling Heights, Michigan. It's 30 seconds slower than our 120-foot tunnel in Warren, Michigan. So that's one good.
Out of like, how much would the total be?
So 105 seconds instead of 75 seconds.
Anything else for the petitioner? No? Okay, we're going to go to the public now. We'll give you an opportunity to come back. If you choose to, it's not required to address anything that comes up
Sounds good.
from the public or the staff report.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move into the public testimony portion of this hearing. Is there anybody here from the public who would like to speak regarding this agenda item? Okay, anybody here from the public that would like to speak at this agenda item? Last chance? Okay. Hearing none, we'll go to the staff report. Carter?
Yes, thank you. Carter Moran, staff planner for Village Downers Grove. This is petition 26 PZC 0011, a petition for a special use for a car wash with commercial variations. The 1.1 acre subject property is located southwest of the intersection of Downers Drive and Butterfield Road along a frontage road. The address consists of 2 lots of record. The property is zoned B3, general services and highway business. The noticing requirements were all met and included mailed notices to nearby property owners, publishing in the newspaper of record, and posting signs along the 3 road frontages. Staff received 1 public comment regarding this proposal, which was general in nature. The site plan shows the highlighted drive lanes from their beginning on the southwest side of the site to their end on the northwest side. The queuing lane includes 26 spaces across 2 lanes. The payment booths are located on the east side of the site, covered by a freestanding canopy, and served by an attendant stationed in a booth to the west of the lanes. At the northeast side of the site, a bailout lane is included. The car wash lane itself extends northeast into the setback before turning west into the car wash building. After it travels through the building, 1 drying space is provided before the lane intersects with the driveway aisle running north-south at the northwest side of the site. 20 parking spaces are provided, each with access to a vacuum for interior cleaning. This site plan shows the pedestrian pathway network through the site. Pedestrians enter from the Butterfield Road frontage road and enter the property from the north. Bike parking is included to the west of one of the parking rows. The pedestrian network allows employees working in the attendant booth to access the car wash building safely. This landscape plan shows the existing and proposed plantings throughout the site. New landscape includes plantings along all rights of way on the northwest and east frontages and interior side landscaping abutting the commercial lot to the south. Screening plantings are also included around the proposed trash enclosure and the vacuum compressor. The isometric plan shows the design of the canopy, parking stall vacuums, and car wash building. The car wash building includes 2 towers at the vehicle entrance and exit. The design scheme for the building is shown in the material sample to the right of the diagram, including white ephes with accents of cyan and magenta. The towers are clad in metal plating. In addition to the special use for a car wash, the petitioners are seeking commercial variations related to the drive-through lane. The car wash queuing lane extends into the 25-foot setback on the east side of the property. The petitioner states that the site presents a unique circumstance whereby the building, drive lanes, parking area, and queuing lanes could not fit cohesively without variation. The zoning ordinance requires that car washes also provide 2 drying spaces after vehicles travel through the wash building. The petitioner includes 1 drying space west of the building. They state that the proposed traffic pattern on site using the existing ingress and egress ports prohibits construction of a second drying lane as part of the wash. The comprehensive plan includes recommendations for development within the Butterfield Road and Finley Road area. Recommendations include ensuring that the Butterfield Road corridor is resilient to changing commercial and office market conditions, continuing to require pedestrian connections throughout developments and redevelopments that connect to the public right-of-way, maintaining quality of life for the corridor's residents, ensuring access to businesses and jobs. As well, there are recommendations within the comprehensive plan for land use and development, including commercial uses located in areas with a regional draw of a corridor where they will benefit from access and visibility without significantly contributing to traffic or impact on nearby residential areas. The variation criteria are included on this slide and the next. The petitioner's answers to the criteria have been stated in their presentation and are in the agenda packet. The special use criteria for the drive-through included in the B3 General Service and Highway Business District are included here. Staff finds that all standards of approval have been met and recommends approval of petition 26 PZC 0011. A draft motion can be found on page 11 and 12 of the overall agenda packet. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for staff? Mr. Lincoln?
Can you touch more on these drying lanes? Is it really from like older car washes and hand drying? I mean, or is there a reason that we have that still in the code? Because a lot of these car washes anymore do have the non-manual drying, they're automatic. So why is that rule still there?
Well, I can't explicitly say it's for the hand drying car washes exactly, but the requirement is for 2 drying spaces, just so that once you get out of those lanes, the sun or towels is going to continue to dry the car. And also, I think the 2 spaces was to allow drivers to orient themselves after coming out of the tunnel.
Perhaps it's more of a length kind of thing so that you're not coming right out into traffic, I guess, could be part of the argument too.
Certainly.
Sure. There's that. And as you do know, we are working on a comprehensive text amendment project this year. Those are one of the items that I believe we'll be looking at too for cleanups and modifications based off of current trends of all uses in there too. Like we've looked at before. You haven't seen those yet, but we do that every year and a half. And so as part of the next update that's going to be coming in front of you is we're looking at some miscellaneous text amendments for that part. I think it's part 3 over there too. And I think this is what we're looking at. In addition to parking requirements too. So sit tight.
Yeah, I feel like that's still kind of the crux of this a little bit is like trying to get a variation of that, but it does seem like kind of an odd, like having to have 2 drying spaces, but you have a single lane, unless it's a space thing with visibility. And I mean, otherwise having 2 spots to dry, you wouldn't have 2 cars drying at the same time really. So,
Well, I mean, drying spaces in this case isn't necessarily like a space you stop in. It's much like a stacking space where, it's just a car's length that we're measuring, just so you're spending that much extra time with another car in front of you or behind you in that lane. But, the requirement is for 2. And so your variation is.
any other properties with a variance like this? Any other car washes where we have shortened their drying space?
I don't recall. This is honestly one of the first new car washes that we've looked at in quite some time. I believe the last one was Delta Sonic, and that's a little bit of a different operation there. I know we're all pretty familiar with that. So that would be the last one, I believe. And that would have been 2017, I believe, is when they went through the process.
That's correct, 2017.
Thank you, Flora.
Yeah, and on that one, I'm familiar with Delta Sonic. That's the way that I kind of read it, that maybe the intent of the ordinance was to give you a spot to get out of the way, to dry your car, not anticipating that the future would have such a great drying automation that you wouldn't require the extra, little blowing of the drops off your mirrors and whatnot. So that, that was my question as well, Scott. Is that more like the intent was to get out of the way of the other
And
cars kind
certainly
of
if-
shooting out of the tunnel?
And certainly if customers wanted to drive further, even doesn't sound like it's necessary. There is 20 spaces on the property that are at least on this site plan demonstrated for vacuums, but if somebody wants to do just a little extra drying, those would be appropriate spaces.
So then
to do
they
that
would
too.
turn left, right?
Correct.
Is that- Okay.
Okay, there's a question on that as well. So you take one of those single car washes, say BP at the corner of Ogden and Main Street there, that has a drying at the end of it as well, but there's certainly no place to queue up there. You just finish your wash and you kind of proceed to dry.
Several of those car washes were constructed before we did the 2014 update to the text amendments. So again, not having the site plan in front of me, it is very likely that a large portion of our car washes are legal non-conforming. I believe that section of the ordinance was put in there when we did the comprehensive update to the code, again, back in 2014.
Yeah, I think a lot of those tunnels are much shorter in the gas stations, and I'm sure the equipment there doesn't give you, I've never been through one,
It
but
doesn't work that well.
I would assume yeah, there's
Better
no
than nothing.
drying capacity in that short little tunnel.
Yeah.
Any other questions for staff?
I just had one more, just on the east side, if you can clarify, the paving already went out that far, correct? For the restaurant?
I'm gonna cheat and look at their presentation real quick, just to clarify this, but yes, it would be in the parking spaces that are there right now. So
Okay.
they're just condensing the site a little bit.
So they're really not going further than what they were before.
That is correct.
Okay.
So
I
with the
didn't
rest,
see
Okay.
anywhere where they were going further.
Yeah.
Most of them, they're pulling in quite a bit, and even the one that they need a variance for is just holding the existing
Yeah,
pavement
that's
line.
what I
It's not
thought.
like they're
Okay.
extending out further than what it was.
is it about the actual like movement, the lane, or is it, or is the restaurant already a legal non-conforming because its parking lot was too close to the setbacks?
They would have been legal non-conforming to the setback, but in this case, because it's a new use and a new user in a new building, we're taking a look at it as if it's fresh.
So it's not necessarily that, because the driving, there was like parking there and then the driving lane was further to the west. That's not the issue. It's the whole parking lot itself was a legal non-conforming, and they're not making it worse. They're just using the footprint that,
We consider this a new parking lot, and so,
Right.
given that, the lane has to be reviewed as if it's being put
Absolutely.
in without that lot there. It just happens to be overlaid over the parking spaces that are there now, so that's for your consideration.
Okay, anything else for staff? No?
and one little final thing, sorry. There was a comment mentioned about this lot being somewhat unique, and kind of making it harder to fit the car wash in there because it had setbacks on three sides. Does anyone from staff want to speak to that? Is that pretty uncommon in the village to have?
It is uncommon to have three frontages. What I'd also share, and not stated by the petitioner, but in the staff report, is you don't quite have the lot depth on this that you do with other outlots in the region or in this corridor. If you look to the west, east, or even across the street on this property, there is significantly deeper lots that are provided. And then in addition to that, there's also a retention pond to the north. So this site does not have, I would say, the depth and visibility that you typically have in the Butterfield corridor, like other outlots.
Okay, anything else for staff? No?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna go back to the petitioner. You have an opportunity to address anything that's come up. You're not obligated to come up again. It's just an opportunity if you wish to before we deliberate on this and make a recommendation on your petition.
Can we answer any more questions? I guess would be my, I don't know if that's an appropriate question.
It's
but,
really just an opportunity for you to kind of make
Oh,
any
sorry.
statement that you'd like to make.
the 20 feet queuing out of the tunnel is a standard protocol for us. So I think we do have enough area to get out. So that's standard for us across all of our car washes across the country. That's my last. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll go to discussion up here.
I mean, I can start and I'm getting looks. I mean, really, just to me, like almost everything's been met. The only one I think is a little debatable is about the 9 feet.
Hmm.
But I think leaning towards yes, just because the parking lot was always there. But I mean, the way it's written in the code, the property cannot yield a reasonable return if required to comply with the regulations. That might be debatable. I mean, they might be able to run a car wash that's just shorter, and they even gave us examples of shorter car washes. But I think the argument over the time, allowing the cars to move more efficiently, and the fact that the parking lot was already covering that probably outweigh. That's really the only one. Everything else seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. And I think that, the benefits that they're going to bring to the community, paying staff livable wages, bringing the extra green space, I think, improving the stormwater reclamation. I feel like all of those things are great benefits to the lot, which is a challenging fit, it seems like, with the 3 setback, requirements. So I think all the conditions have been met as well.
I agree. I think the additional green space, especially when you look at the existing lot that pretty much goes right up to the street right there, there's no green space there. So even though they said there's a variance here, this one's kind of pulling it in. It physically is going to be a better site.
I like the location of this car wash. It's in a very insulated area and, away from, traffic coming on and off a major thoroughfare. So, I think this is a great location and good use of, real estate.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a no-brainer that all the special use criteria have been met. And under the variations, I feel those have been met too. It is a bit unique, the geometry of the site, the fact that it's got 3 frontages. It's not going to change the character of the neighborhood. And, so I do feel that they've been met as well.
I just have, I agree with all of that. And I was just looking ahead to the draft motion, and staff did not mention number 3 on the conditions. So I don't know if it's appropriate to tell us what that's about.
Get it pulled up over here. I'll take a look at it in 1 second.
Yeah, it's the hold harmless agreement.
Yeah, that would be a private setback enforced on the site along the north property line, but we often have private setback lines platted throughout the village, and in all cases, we require a hold harmless agreement to state that the village won't enforce the private setback, but the setback enforced by our zoning ordinance. So rather, it's a typical thing that happens. And in this case, it's just to state that we'd be looking at our own setbacks rather than anything platted previously.
We typically do this with a large portion of single family homes throughout the entire community. It's on a lot of subdivision plats right in and near downtown. And so it's a requirement we have with it too. You folks just don't see it that often with the planning and zoning commission case.
Okay, thank you.
Since you did ask a question, we do have to open it back up to the public if anybody wants to make any comments with that new information though, since you technically are in
About
deliberation
that
right now.
item 3.
Yeah.
Shame on me.
Okay.
My fault.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment on or have any questions about the item 3 recommended condition for this about a hold harmless agreement being required?
Evening,
Good evening.
Scott Richards. I just had a question. Recently, I went up on Ogden. I think it's Fuller Car Wash. And I don't usually go there, but I pulled in and I thought, this looks different. Pulled in and all of a sudden there's a gate and there's this menu over here that I really didn't understand what the heck I'm doing. And an attendant came out. I pushed the help button because I thought, I don't know what's going on with this. I've never seen a car wash like this before. And he came out and I said, you know what? I've changed my mind. How do I get out of here? He said, well, you're going to have to back up. He came out and helped me get out of the place. I thought that was a pain. Is that going to be the same case as if you change your mind and you want to get out and you don't want to go to the car wash? Because I was aggravated. I said, who came up with this idea? So I'm just curious whether this has the same issue.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Okay, any other discussion up here? No? Okay, does somebody want to make a motion here?
I can make a motion.
Go ahead.
Based on the petitioner's submittal, the staff report, and the testimony presented, I find that the petitioner has met the standards of approval for a special use and 2 variations to construct and operate a car wash as required by the Village of Downers Grove zoning ordinance and is in the public interest, and therefore I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend to the Village Council approval of 26-PZC-0011, subject to the 3 conditions on page 10 of the staff report.
Okay, motion approved by Mr. Patel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Eberhardt. Roll call?
All right, we got Patel,
Aye.
Eberhardt,
Yes.
Frankovic,
Aye.
Lincoln.
Aye.
Reyes.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Barry.
Aye.
Chairman Rickard.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
Okay, you recommend for approval. There'll be another public hearing on this item at the village council level.
I'll say my message right now on that. So we do have 4 cases this evening. We are working with our village manager's office to schedule these on future meetings. Some of them will be scheduled for the first reading at one of the future May meetings. So this month, and a couple of them will also be scheduled for a first reading in June. The way we do things here is after the recommendation leaves Planning and Zoning Commission, we do 2 meetings with the Village Council, what we call first reading, and then active agenda or the final votes. Just because the number of cases here where we're trying to arrange them, just so council's not looking at 4 cases in one night, just to help with their workload too. So just be in contact with your staff member or look on our village website. We do post the Village Council agendas every Friday in the evening, and which will give the agenda items for the very next week. So this will apply to all cases that we hear tonight. I just didn't want everybody to hear me say that 4 times tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next case is 26 PZC 0012, seeking approval of special use in the downtown transition district to operate a dental office on the first floor of an existing building. Property is located approximately 200 feet southeast of the intersection of Washington Street and Curtis Street, commonly known as 5145 Washington Street in Downers Grove. Keith Brom is the petitioner, and Bart Two Properties is the owner. So at this time, we'll go to the petitioner's presentation. I'm not sure who's going to be doing the presenting here, but if you just want to start off by introducing yourself, and then the floor is yours.
Hello,
Good evening.
my name is Keith Bram. I don't have anything formal to present, so I'll speak extemporaneously. I started my practice in 2008 when we moved to Chicago from Ohio, and we live in Clarendon Hills. So the location of this property is optimal for our long-term goals. There's a lot of exposure, a lot of pedestrian traffic, a vast residential community, which I was pleasantly surprised to see, and a very Norman Rockwellian diversified downtown district. So it's very conducive to my past and my future. As far as infection control, we have a company called Stericycle that comes to dispose of our bloodborne pathogens. I installed an amalgam separator to take the metallic fillings out of the drain system. We don't use any silver or mercury anymore, but still we have a lot of patients that are older where we're removing metal and precious metal, non-precious metal, so we evacuate that safely so there's no contamination to the sewage or water supply. All the imaging equipment we have lead line collimated beams, so there's virtually no peripheral or scatter radiation, so there's no need for any lead aprons or thyroid collars. We're very careful about minimizing any risk to unnecessary noxious stimuli. My background, I went to college at the University of Arizona. I matriculated in dental school in University of Missouri, graduated in 1990, and I've been practicing dentistry ever since. I did complete a general practice residency at Case Western Reserve. I am a traditionally trained dentist, but I'm also a digitally trained dentist. And I think that hybrid background distinguishes some of my skill sets from a lot of other people. We love the technology. We assimilate as much as we can. We're 100% digital workflow, but there are times where we have glitches where I have to shut down my server and practice the old-fashioned way. So that gives me a little peace of mind to know that whether the power grid goes off or not, we'll still be able to get the job done. As far as community service, I've always been very active and civic-minded. Currently, I'm a certified election judge in DuPage County. I served on the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee in Hinsdale District D86 when my son graduated from Hinsdale Central. I served on the board of the Shop with a Cop Foundation in Kane County. We have a golfing event every summer. We raise money for underprivileged kids in Kane County. These kids provide Christmas lists for us, and after the golfing event, we go to Walmart in Carpentersville and we fulfill all the wish lists for the kids. We have a nice little brunch for them. It's good community service as well. So I've been to Jerusalem several times, providing dentistry for Muslims, Christians, and Jewish kids. We basically get supplies from dental supply companies that donate, and I carry about 60 pounds of supplies and dispense them to the clinics. So started out working when I was in the 7th grade, delivering the Cleveland Press. So I'll be, I won't be too verbose about it. My website has a lot of other information on it if you're interested in some of my other background skill sets as a clinician. I do have a fellowship certification in implant prosthetics and implant and surgical placement of implants. So we do guided surgeries, and we're very modernized, and we take that very seriously. I'm a student of dentistry. I do a lot of continuing education. I belong to a study club. Brian.
How you doing, everyone? Brian Gould with BR Design and Architecture. I'm here to represent Dr. Bram and the building owners, Kesha and Chris Bart. So as you just heard, obviously, Dr. Bram has been doing this for quite some time and is very knowledgeable of what he does. I think that would be a great addition to Downers Grove. So I was brought in back in February to take a look at the building, just to get the existing conditions put down on paper, and then obviously to help out with this special use case, as well as work on the second floor, which I'll get into here. So first and foremost, this is a little bit of an interesting one, because usually when we do a special use, it's a new project like we just saw with the car wash, asking for a change in zoning and such. But this one is an existing building. It is currently in the zone DT. The first floor was, let's see here. The first floor was an existing dental office previously. It's only because it lapsed more than 6 months that really we're here today to kind of refresh everything. So the first floor was an existing dental office. The second floor was for general professional office use. So what we're looking to do is obviously bring Dr. Bram in as a new dentist in that first floor. The second floor is currently vacant, but that would become at some point in time professional office use, being utilized for that. We are not proposing any changes to that first floor dental office. It's a straightforward turnkey operation that he'd be moving into. So that's a good thing. We're not changing or reorienting any of the rooms. Path of egress still stays the same. The second floor, we have worked with staff here in Downers Grove to look at that from an egress standpoint. There's currently a stairwell that is interior to this building that at one point in time was being used by the first floor tenant as well, kind of intermixed, office up above and dental practice below. We took a look at this, given the fact that this would be sectioned out and you'd have a second floor by a different tenant. We did look at the path of egress and the fact that there's 2 exterior staircases already at the exterior, let's see, the south and the west of this building. With me going there to document the existing conditions, we found that those 2 means of egress are separated at the proper distance. So, which I kind of thought, given that there's 2 staircases there already. But we did verify that, and we do propose some work to be done on that second floor when the time comes for that second floor tenant. So at this point, because it's vacant, that would be something that we would not be doing now, but I would be brought in obviously to work on that when the time comes and that second floor tenant goes in. The other item to discuss on this that I do want to bring up is we have, if you look at this, and this is kind of something too, Jason, I don't know if we should have probably mentioned this. So right now, we have been asked obviously to take away one of the parking stalls to put in a tree. which right now we only have 10 parking spots. And Dr. Bram would be required to have 6 parking stalls there. So that only leaves 4 stalls on this property for the second floor. So taking away one obviously is, is pretty detrimental in that regard. We want to try and keep as many parking spaces as we can. And then where the entrance is to his dental office is on that southwest corner. So a lot of his patients, obviously, we want them to be as close as possible to access his space. The other issue that I do have with this is if we were to plant a tree there, there's already 2 trees in that parkway. And so what we're trying to determine is, if we were to plant a tree, we're going to be under a canopy already, for one. 2, what's kind of unique here is if you see where that white car's parked, just in front of it is that stall that we would be taking out to plant a new tree. The property line to the south is right there at those curb bumpers. So, what happens when we plant a tree there and then the roots start, having an issue with the asphalt on the property south of us? We do have green space. So, by looking at this aerial and looking at your site plan with the delineation of the boundary, it kind of looks like there's almost no green space, but there's actually a parcel in the northeast corner there. That's all green space that's there already. So, that's one thing that we are kind of asking is if we could possibly come up with another resolution rather than planting that tree in that front parkway, losing a parking spot. We do have that green space back there. Or I have talked to the owners, if we were to do a donation, $250 donation or something of that nature, that could be used maybe to plant a tree somewhere else in Downers Grove. Just something to come up with rather than, losing a parking spot on this property since it's so tight to begin with. But other than that, we do meet all the requirements for the special use. And again, we are not changing anything to the exterior. No signage, except, there will be new signage, but that'll be under a separate permit. And then, interior wise, the first floor is not being changed. It's just turnkey, just bringing in a new dental office in the same location. So, pretty much it. If you have any other questions, let us know.
Questions for the petitioner?
Space at the back. Do you have any plans for that at any point? Up to the east?
No, it just at this point, it is a green space. So, it's not paved. It's obviously create and have some green space there. But I was just curious when we started this, Jason, if we were aware of that, that there is that, only because it's under a different parcel. So if you look at that site map, you notice that boundary kind of shows it almost as it's all pavement, but we do have a green space back there.
That's correct.
Yeah. So.
Just to confirm, you're not going to be doing any renovations at the first floor?
Correct.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Anybody? Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to go to the public,
Yep,
then the staff
absolutely.
report, and then you'll have a chance to come back if you choose to, if you want to address anything that comes up from this
Correct.
point forward.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to go to the public. Is there anybody from the public in the audience who would like to speak at the public hearing regarding the special use for the dental office on Washington? Good evening.
Hi. I wish the owner and the dentist great fortune.
Can you start with, can you give your?
I'm
name?
sorry, John Salerno, 850 Maple Avenue,
Thank you.
25-year resident. I am the property owner I'm the adjacent property owner to the east of the dental office.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring up a couple of points that I have concerns about from the previous dental office that operated there. My property is where the ends exactly where the vacant lot or the green space is and the dental office parking lot. And specifically in that corner where they meet, my fence post has been broken no less than 4 times by vehicles. So my questions specifically center around that. And that is, I'm a property owner. I have a family, all that stuff. My questions is if this is being used for commercial use, or forgive me if I'm not using the right words, I believe there's some type of green setback for the parking space that would be adjacent to my property, as well as the petitioner would be responsible for erecting a commercial fence, which I currently maintain. So my concern there again is the damage to my property in the future. Hopefully none. Secondly would be, let me see here. Firstly is because the parking stumps get moved and the bumpers of the cars have broken the fence posts. The additional items that have occurred is snow removal has been pushed up against my fence, which also caused damage. And lastly is the lot is kind of small and it kind of comes down narrowly to a point. And turning around in there has also caused damage by people backing up onto the fence post. Lastly, my concern, which was just brought up, was in regards to the future use of the second floor. If there's going to be additional commercial use there and cars, I don't know how many parking spots there are and what the requirements are. I would just request that be considered, in terms of my residence there. And, we have a pool right down there and all that stuff. And so that my concern is only for my property, not anything to do with the use or anything to do with the petitioners at all.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak at the public hearing for the special use for the dental office use? Last chance. Okay, hearing none. Go to staff report.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Flora Leon. I'm the senior planner with the Village of Downers Grove. The petition before you tonight is 26 PZC0012, a special use request for 5145 Washington. As the petitioner mentioned, they are seeking a special use in the downtown transition zoning district to operate a dental office. So on this first slide, I provided the location map for your review. The subject site is highlighted in white. As I mentioned, the existing zoning district is DT, Downtown Transition, and the proposed use, the dental office, is an allowable special use within that zoning district. On the right side of the map, I provided a photo of the public hearing notice that was posted at the site. In addition to posting this sign, we also mailed notices and posted the hearing in the newspaper. We did not receive any additional public comment. On this next slide, I provided the plot of survey. So as the petitioner noted, the previous dental office was located on the first floor and had not been occupied since January of 2025. Our zoning ordinance states that if any special use is discontinued for a continuous period of 6 months or more, the special use for that is void. So that's why this petition is appearing before you tonight. Since we're looking at the plot of survey, I just wanted to highlight that the access points are not changing. I've highlighted the building in gray here for reference, and then I've indicated in these red triangles that the dental office has an entrance off of Washington Street, and there's also an accessible ramp on the south facade. On this slide, I wanted to share the floor plan with you. The architect mentioned that there would not be any changes really to the formerly occupied dental office. There will still be a lobby, a reception area, exam rooms, and a lab, as well as a vestibule. And the second floor in the future is proposed to be a professional office. I did want to highlight that if another medical or dental practitioner wanted to go into the second floor, a new special use permit would be required for that second floor. Here, I provided the Plata survey again, just to talk a little bit about some of the exterior improvements. The first item I wanted to highlight was the required landscape island with a shade tree. This requirement is found in our parking regulations as well as screening requirements. We typically have required that at the end of parking stalls, there should be a landscape island with a shade tree. That's why we've asked this to be included with the petition. There are no additional changes to the existing facade. So except for signage, which would be permitted separately. So there isn't any need to review the proposal with the downtown design guidelines. Also, along Washington Street, I've highlighted here in a red square that based on the Plata survey, the existing property actually extends into village right-of-way. And so as a condition of approval, the petitioner would have to dedicate a total of 33 feet to the village to ensure that the right-of-way on Washington Street is 80 feet to match what's happening on the north and the south side of that street. As far as parking goes, the downtown transition zoning district does require 4.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet. So in this instance, a total of 6 parking stalls would be required and 10 are provided. And that does include adding in that landscaped island. So there's sufficient parking on site. And these next slides, I wanted to talk a little bit about the comprehensive plan. So within the plan, there is a section for the focus area plans that calls out continuing to attract local businesses to ensure that we're expanding and diversifying options, specifically in the downtown, wanting to ensure that pedestrian-oriented design comes through with design elements such as landscaping, kind of helping bring down that scale. Within the land use and development section of the plan also calls for mixed-use areas in the downtown. On this last slide, I provided the special use criteria for your review. Staff does find that all standards have been met, and as such, we do recommend approval of petition 26 PZC0012. Should the Planning and Zoning Commission agree, a draft motion can be found on pages 180 and 181 of the overall agenda packet. If you all have any questions, I would be happy to take those now.
Go ahead.
Are the parking spaces that are directly to the southeast there along that property line? It's kind of vague to see that one that's kind of short. Is that part of their parking, or is that like what this gentleman's fence post? Is that part of their parking lot, or is that the neighboring property?
From our understanding, it's part of the parking lot.
Would it be feasible, as opposed to the landscape island being in the front parking space, to then maybe transfer it to that back corner and then potentially eliminate the problem with the fence post issue, and then maybe incorporate that into the green space, and then maybe require the petitioner to not only add a tree there, but maybe some native plantings in that open green space that would, help with biodiversity within the downtown area?
That is certainly an option. Obviously, it's a draft motion that we have in the staff reports this evening. If it's the desire of the Planning and Zoning Commission to modify said condition, just make sure when you do that first motion, whoever is going to make it, and if you all agree, to make sure that motion is modified to include we can I always help you guys with this, I know. But to put the landscape island in that space instead and replace it with what's proposed right now in the staff report. So she'll have some discussion on this. And then if that's agreeable with the Planning and Zoning Commission, I'll work with you on what that conditions should say exactly, so we could get that as part of the motion. I will share, just in case I was asked this later, is it does sound like there's also a potential code enforcement inquiry, and we do have a code enforcement team that does investigate these matters, especially if there is damage to a neighboring property. So I do recommend that if that is an issue and has been an issue or becomes an issue, that you can contact the Community Development Department, and we do have a code enforcement team that addresses those kind of items, with especially between two neighbors. And if there is damage, I just wanted to offer that as a service that we do have here.
Thank you.
Okay, any other, Mr. Lincoln?
Well, I had a very similar question, but you actually asked it even better because I feel like there was a compromise for two things there that beats mine. But the only other question that I had, I'm still trying to understand this lot, to be honest. It seems like this lot and the lot next to it, you look at it on an aerial picture and you think you know where the lot line is because of where the parking is, but it actually looks like the lot line cuts through one of the parking lots. And so the edge of the pavement is not the lot line, right? So there's like this edge of the pavement that almost goes a little bit more east-west, but then the lot line is a little bit more southwest, northeast.
Yeah, the photo with the white dotted line on it, on the aerial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it
Yeah,
a
so
little
it's
confusing.
cutting through in kind of an interesting way where the lot is. And so then there's the corner of that other property that kind of, the gentleman's property who spoke, that kind of cuts in there. I mean, there's just a lot of
Property
things
line
going on.
does bisect a portion of that parking space to the east. It actually bisects a portion of the southwest parking space where staff was originally recommending the landscape. GIS is a guide. It is not 100% accurate. We use it as a reference, but when we have cases like this, or for permits, we do require a plat of survey. So the plat is what's been featured, is an accurate representation on where everything is. So you notice even with the landscape island, we were recommending working with the petitioner to place it in that green hatch there. You'll notice a portion is still on the south property, which they don't have access to. That's not their property. Yeah, right there. So this portion right here is technically not on their property. That's why this was drawn, at least with staff's recommendation. It's the desire of PZC to put it over here. It would have to be, the landscape island would be designed in this shape roughly right here.
So, but the purpose of that landscape island comes from the parking ordinance.
So
So it's about, but it's about screening the parking lot. What's the intent for that?
Sure, that's a great question. So with parking rows, we typically have a landscape island at the end of each parking row to provide additional landscaped areas as well as shading. It's just a standard requirement that we have for parking lots.
When we have special uses like this, or even permits, so there's some items that you don't even see, is we try to bring parking lots further into compliance with the zoning and specifically the landscape ordinance, right? So this was another opportunity. You've seen special uses in the past, not necessarily all 9 of you at the same time, where we've had parking lots where they get brought further into compliance, but we don't want to also do it at a detriment of, if we did everything that was required for landscaping in a parking lot, there probably would not be any parking spaces left on the sites. So we have to balance that. We balance that at the staff level when we have permits, but also when you have a planning and zoning case like this, we're going to look to bring these sites further in compliance with that ordinance. And we just went through this little planning process for the last 2 years with Guiding DG, which is recommending and looking for us to find open space in any chance we get. I know this was a recommendation from this group specifically when we went through all those different meetings. And then, so there's guidance on that. And specifically in the downtown where there is a premium in open space that was recognized through our planning and zoning process, we do look when we get these site by site just to do a little bit, every little bit helps. And that was why we also made this recommendation here, but we got to balance parking requirements too in addition to that. So it was a really long answer, Commissioner Eberhardt, to your question, but we got to be careful too that we don't in this case, landscape at the detriment of losing parking spaces that are required. But we think there's a balance that can be met here.
Okay, so it sounds like there is some wiggle room about the placement of that because it looks really arbitrary right now. And I really like Commissioner Frankovich's proposal.
I have a question, as I'm looking at this. I assume that the plat of survey is the most accurate site plan that we have. And when you enter the parking lot and you head towards the back, I mean, is this even
legal.
A legal parking lot? I mean,
There's
you
no
have
turnaround.
you have a two-way aisle going to a dead end that looks like it's like 8 feet wide.
I'll recall my statement from a couple of minutes ago. It is a very non-conforming parking lot. We are trying our best to work with the petitioner too.
Yeah, it's like, just for safety purposes, I wonder if that corner, if we're gonna lose one parking stall, it should be that one. And maybe it could be abbreviated a little bit to create a little more room to turn that corner. If there was a little landscape island and a tree in that southernmost stall that butts up to the back of the building, that could free up some more space and create a little bit of a barrier with a curb to help control traffic, give them a little more room, number one. It just looks like it could be a mess if you do get this place fully occupied and you do have 6 cars back there, and that looks tough.
Yeah, how did we end up with that parcel 2 over there? Like just this little orphan space, like.
I have no idea.
Well, because one of the things I was thinking, when we were looking at this, and I was noticing the same thing that Chair Rickard was noticing about there's no place to turn around in that east parking area. So I was kind of like wondering if, could you turn some of that parking and put it into that little parcel there? But I just didn't know why it wasn't developed as part of one of these other surrounding properties.
Downtown is a fascinating place.
Yeah,
Boundaries over time.
Go back to the
as things
beginning. I
redevelop.
mean,
I'm kind of torn too, because this whole application is really a special use to allow dental use.
Right.
Which I don't see any issues with. But I see other issues, and I'm struggling with how far is this refuse supposed to go? It's, I understand these are existing conditions, and they've been existing conditions for a long time. And is it fair to strap a potential tenant with landlord site issues that really don't have anything to do with the special use?
well, in the spirit of that, I have a question back related to the special use. That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Specific to the discussion about issues with the potential neighbor. I know you said that was code enforcement, but it sounds like we have some ideas that could also address that at the same time. I had a potentially moot question, but I was wondering, are there examples of special uses where putting in parking bollards or fences have been one of the requirements to mitigate impact on neighbors, like maintaining some kind of fence or maintaining a certain distance with parking bollards to keep them away from a property line?
Not for recent memory. The ones that we have updated is actually what we've been discussing this evening. Now, in this case is the addition of landscape islands. A couple of the special uses that have been reviewed in this group in recent memory was adding that pedestrian connection that we require via the code, because we do have a lot of developments that still don't have that because they were constructed 40, 50 years ago. We've seen those. We have seen fencing requirements, but it has to be technically tied. In this case, it would be like a drive-through, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a couple of those. You've seen a couple of those in there too. And so that's where the fence height was increased, or additional landscapings because of the operation on that. In this case, it's a special use for the subject property. And as I've just gave a couple of examples, is we do have a right to ask for additional to the site, especially if it's not conforming to the code today. So that's why that was added here.
Anybody else have any questions for staff?
I have a question. You kind of mentioned that they are gonna require 6 parking spots and they have 10. I think that's the plan.
Correct.
What happens when the second floor gets built? Are they gonna have also required 6 and there's not gonna be enough after that? Or is the 6 for both floors? I'm just a little confused about that.
So the 6 is just for the dental office at this time.
So then if someone else moves in the second floor and they also need 6, that's a problem for another day?
So it would have a different parking ratio. So the dentistry is the 4.5 per 1,000. I'd have to double check for the business office to see what that ratio is. Hmm.
Yeah, there are other uses that could go there that have far lighter parking requirements.
Yeah, medical parking is more than your traditional
Mhm.
office or actually even retail too.
Anybody else have any questions for staff? Okay, so we'll go back to the petitioner at this time. So this is your opportunity to come back. You're not obligated to, but if you want to address anything that has come up during public input and a staff report, now would be the time to make any kind of last comments that you'd like to make. It's optional.
No further comments?
Okay,
Answer any questions.
okay. All right, so we'll go to discussion up here.
I mean, generally, I'm in favor, but I love the idea of moving the tree. I thought the tree's in a weird spot. There's already a tree there. And to me, we want to reduce the impervious because, I mean, this is almost in the path of, where the creek used to be. It's now underground. This spot is low, it floods. Like, I think we want to be reducing impervious in strategic ways. I'm not sure that tree does it. I know that that's the spirit of it, is try to, end landscape or put landscaping at the end of parking. But we could solve two issues kind of at once and like put it at the end. When you mentioned that, I was thinking about parking bollards, and I'm like, we could literally solve the landscaping issue, plantings, and get rid of that kind of that corner, sort of a parking space, sort of not a parking space, all at the same time.
Mhm.
So I'm almost in favor of doing a slightly different motion than what's in the staff report and putting the tree, which I think is in a more functional place. I still think it's good to be trying to reduce the impervious area. I know that the lot is difficult and it's tight, but we have a lot of impervious downtown, and I agree with anything we can do to kind of reduce that would be great. And if we can get a win-win out of it, I think that there's a better spot for that tree. Oh, I love that idea.
If you look at the streetscape down there, most of the trees are in the parkway. This one would be kind of the opposite out sitting back. And I do take the residents' concerns into mind that, when we're approving any sort of variance, whether or not this is within the scope of dental variance, but when we're looking at this, if there's ongoing potential damage to somebody else's property, the suggested change here could fix that. And then we wouldn't have an ongoing issue there. I mean, there's nothing you can do about the snowplow people. I'm sure we all have issues with some businesses falling off the place where they should not to. That's a code enforcement, but anything we could do to damage that fence there. And as you put more impervious ground, I think it kills two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I think that the unique thing about this with this is a special use request. So you try to find something that's, some kind of condition you might require based on this use. And I think that this use, because it has a higher parking requirement, that there should be some improvement to that parking flow situation. It's just not safe. I'm surprised the fire department doesn't have some kind of issue with it. You have to get, if you pull in, you got to turn around on site to get back out. In any of those parallel parking spaces, when you come in, you have to go around back and turn around and come back to get out. So everybody is going to be driving by that pinch point. It's just, I don't know. It looks problematic to me. I think I would suggest or be in favor of losing a parking spot somewhere to improve this maneuvering, to the point where maybe even they need to go back and revisit this and come up with a solution for that based on the fact that dental use is requiring more parking and to try to improve that flow. I mean, it's just not safe. It's like the longer I look at it, the worse it looks, It just, I just find more and more issues with it. I mean, it's not necessarily our job to
Yeah.
kind of solve the problem or design this, but I'm just trying to share, my concerns and thoughts. I think I care more about getting the parking lot to work better than I do the tree,
What I will share, this is not new information. This is in the staff report, just so as you are deliberating, is number 3 actually is not location specific. This is exactly what it says in the staff report, definitely for the public's benefit. The site improvements, curb landscape and island and shade tree will be required prior to commercial occupancy issuance. So we actually didn't specify, I know it's represented on the plan, but because of the discussion, if this needs to be moved, you don't have to change the condition is my point. Because we didn't put a specific location on that landscape island. So as you guys continue, I don't think there's a new condition to create. It states that to put an island and a shade tree on the site, to just so potentially have comfort if we're going to keep something like that still in this.
Would there be,
Not new information, just clarifying one of the conditions.
would it be a recommendation then, just based off of where the change would be?
We're listening to right now.
Okay.
So that when we transmit this to the council, we'll put something together for that.
Could Flora, could you move it back to slide 180? Well, it's 182 on ours, but where it went?
The aerial?
Aerial, yeah. Yeah, that one. And maybe zoom in a little bit. Is that all open to the north site, or is there another fence there?
You talking about this area? We can't zoom in right now, but is it this area here you're referencing?
Yeah, to the east.
Oh, there it is. I'm like, where are you pointing? No, kind of to the north. That one. We're to the.
You pull it up on Google Earth on your computer.
Yeah.
It's open, but the lots are not connected.
Right.
But I mean, they basically come right up to each other. I used to live downtown. There's maybe like a couple inches between the lots. They almost look like they're connected, but they're not. And there's not a fence really.
You can't drive through there though.
No, you can't drive through there.
You can't.
No,
There's
there's,
parking bollards.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, if you zoom
okay.
in on
On
the
the north
Google,
lot.
imagery or whatever, there's
Yeah, yeah.
the other lot to the north has parking bollards there.
It's just really
Yes.
Would it be feasible to take those spaces that are next to the green space and rotate them to be connected to those north facing spaces? So I don't know if the space would allow, but maybe that would allow for some turnaround area then if those were rearranged?
There's enough maneuvering for that.
No, okay.
Yeah, I think for purposes of this application for the dental use that,
Mhm.
if we could just get the basic number of code required parking stalls that work, to make that adjustment, that could probably be done with just striping. I mean, the tree is another issue still.
Mhm.
I think the striping is kind of outside of what we're trying to decide anyway. Like that could probably
Yeah,
be
right.
decided by the village after this is all
Yeah.
works its way through the process.
Yeah.
Because the main thing we're talking about is the number. But I could go probably either way, but I could vote as is probably, but potentially we could put the stipulation in there or, recommend the stipulation of where the tree is. I'm still kind of leaning slightly that way because it's kind of open-ended and maybe the stipulation would be that it's put to the east, but then part of me thinks maybe they find something later and then we have to go through this again because they can't put it to the east, but
Mhm.
I do kind of like that spot and knocking out 2 issues at once.
I think we should definitely make the recommendation. But I think, ultimately it's obviously not our final call and there's, logistics to look at with that because it hasn't been explored yet. But I do think it makes the most sense. And there's even potential there to even put a small pedestrian walkway through that green space, which would also be more in line with the comprehensive plan, So, there's some potential there to rework that a little bit and make it more beneficial to the downtown area, I think.
The other possibility is we leave it as is and then all of our comments are on the record with council too. I mean, so
Right.
it's all also the other option.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Jason was saying, so.
Yeah, with the deliberation that's occurring right now, what I think I'm hearing is to look for a location in the southeast corner of the subject property, not to have it in the southwest corner. The condition as is addresses that because it doesn't give a specific location, but like we do with every case, this deliberation is part of the minutes that get attached to the staff report and we can clarify the discussion that you potentially wanted to keep the condition in, but to relocate where it goes. And in this case, I keep on hearing the southeast corner of the subject property. So that's what we'll recommend when it moves forward to council, if that's the desire of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair summation. Any other comments or discussion?
No, I think your point, Chair Rickard, was also valid. Like even if you just move that tree to the northeast corner, that would actually help with the turnaround in that area. But I know what we're saying about the southeast would kind of protect the owner's fence or the neighbor's fence. So I think as part of the recommendation, it should be to improve the functionality of the parking. Because it does sound like maybe just a relook at the striping would help immensely.
I could recommend leaving that out of the condition, and this one's a little more complicated because we have to look at site geometry and all the items that are associated with that. What we're prepared to do, though, is when we write these staff reports that goes to the village council, we'll summarize that as a concern with the planning and zoning commission. We'll see if there's anything else we can do. I think it's just more important at this point, and everything's important. I'm not misrepresenting anything that's being heard here, but just if you want to keep this condition in, to look for a landscape and a tree on the site, that's what will remain if you do the condition as is, or conditions as is with the staff report.
I'm comfortable with that, with the way that it's stated here, especially since, staff has said that, they'll pass along, or at least the minutes and some of our concerns. So I'm comfortable moving forward with this as is.
I think we could get really in the weeds with parking. As much as I agree, the parking looks like a mess. I used to live downtown. This is a very complicated lot, but it's a little bit outside our special use criteria. And so we probably have it in the minutes pretty well established that, council probably is going to agree that, if there's anything we can do about the parking, but I think that's kind of outside of what we're trying to decide right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm wondering if maybe we should just proceed with the motion and hope that the minutes capture concerns, and if there's anything they can do, they can try to do it.
Yeah, I think that's the best case scenario at this point. So
I do have one final comment that I agree with all the things that are being set up here, but I do appreciate when the staff tries to bring the lots into conformity. So thank you for the recommendations that you've made.
Yeah, I may vote different on this one. I feel like there should be at least the required number of spaces that kind of meet code with under the premise that there could be a tenant upstairs that has no parking requirement, and we could meet the parking requirements of the whole building and still get code compliant parking stalls and maneuvering space on the property with the tree. I think that could all be made to work. But I have nothing, the dental use I think is fine as far as special use goes. The issues I have are other things. Okay, any other discussion? No? Okay, somebody want to make a motion here?
I was looking for the draft, and I think I found it twice. I will.
Yeah, there is a draft motion in the back.
I think there's like a part of it.
Yeah.
It's just got part of it. So, Mr. Chairman, I recommend, let's try this again. I move that we approve 26 PZC 0012, subject to the conditions in the staff report. It's kind of missing the first sentence. The draft is.
All right, motion noted. Yep, you got it first.
Hopefully that's good enough. I noticed the sentence that usually comes before it is not actually in there. It just says a draft will be provided.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lincoln,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Patel. Roll call.
All right, we got Lincoln.
Aye.
Patel.
Aye.
Frankovic.
Aye.
Eberhard.
Aye.
Reyes.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Barry.
Aye.
Chairman Rickard.
Nay. Okay, that one's recommended for approval. Same story Jason stated earlier. That case will be heard again, Village Council at future meeting date. And with that, we'll jump into the third item on the agenda, which is 26 PZC 0013, seeking approval of a special use permit in the residential apartment condo R6 zoning district to construct an accessory structure on a lot of record prior to the construction of a principal structure. The property is located approximately 210 feet west of the intersection of Fairview Avenue and 2nd Street, commonly known as 417 2nd Street. Oakley Home Builders is the petitioner, and Jeffrey Wickland is the owner. Go ahead and introduce yourself and the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'm Kevin Nelson. I work with Oakley Home Builders.
I'm Jeff McClendon, the owner. Steve Poderecki, architect. And I'm Brian Dunn. I'm one of the owners of Oakley Home Builders. Today, we're going to present to you guys, we're seeking a special use permit. The Wicklands have bought the property adjacent to their property on Grand Avenue.
And I want to interrupt you just for a quick second.
Yes.
Sometimes there's difficulty hearing throughout the room. When you're speaking, if you could get up a little closer to that mic so we can get it recorded and so it carries through the room as well.
Do you want me to start over? Or?
No, you can go ahead and pick up
Gotcha.
where you left off.
So the Wicklands have they live on Grand Avenue. They have bought the property directly abutting the east side and are seeking a special use permit to put an accessory structure on that. And I'll have him run through the presentation.
Thanks, Ryan. So running through our presentation, we'll start off with the plat of survey. So right now, this lot is composed of two separate lots, which we're working on consolidating to be able to build the accessory structure. There's an easement which grants access to Fairview, which we will be keeping with the accessory structure. That's about it for the plat of survey. The existing structure on there will be demolished to be able to build the new accessory structure. So it will be, there will be no principal structure on the site. For the site plan, just running through a few things. The existing water service is on Fairview. That's going to be disconnected, and the new water service will be a new connection on Grand Avenue running through the property at 5141 Grand. The existing sewer has been reviewed and TV'd by the sanitary district, and they are allowing us to keep the existing sanitary connection, which is on Grand as well, running through an easement on 5141. And then just running quickly through the actual preliminary plans that we have put together. It's a small accessory structure. It's smaller than the existing home that is on the site. It's not going to be used for any inhabitable space. It's just a small pool house for the house on Grand. And then not to belabor any of the points, you all know what the 4 criteria are for the special use permit. So just wanted to note that we do meet all of those requirements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the petitioner?
Well, I've seen the property. It's really is kind of hard to get there.
Mhm.
You're going to use that little sliver of land out there for egress there, or is just kind of just keep that open?
Yeah, right now it's used as an easement on the neighboring lots. So we do want to keep that just so that way, if the homeowners ever want to use it as access to the lot, they can without getting rid of that easement.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to go to the public and staff report, and you'll have an opportunity to come back. Is there anybody in the public who'd like to speak on this item?
I would.
Okay, if you could just start with your name for the record.
My name is Jim Briggs, and I own 2 properties that touch this property they're talking about. My only issue is the easement for the 12-foot driveway. If they're going to put a pool house there, they have no need for that. And I maintain that, and I see no reason I should have to maintain it for somebody to maybe use it sometime for a personal structure. Their house is on a different street. That should be their access. I mean, if they're going to bring heavy equipment in there, tear that house down, they're probably going to damage the pavement and everything else. And it's going to be on my nickel to fix it. So I'd like to get rid of that easement at this time when they do this. I see no purpose for it. It was the only way to get to that house. The entire driveway is on my property.
The easement to the.
Well, it's a driveway that isn't, it's not an easement for utilities. That's further on our property. That's not a problem. Just the driveway, access drive, that's there specifically for the drive, I think can be abandoned and taken away. So I can maintain the property better and not have chaos of whoever coming through there whenever.
Okay.
So I don't know what we need to do to look into that, but it seemed like a perfect time to do it.
Okay, thank you. I'll probably have questions for staff on that item when we get there. Anybody else in the public who'd like to speak on this item? No? Okay. Staff report?
Hello again. The petition before you tonight is 26 PZC 0013. The address is 417 2nd Street, and the request, as you know, is for a special use to establish an accessory structure prior to a principal building. Okay, let's start off with the location map. So I've highlighted the 417 2nd Street in white here for you. And then in red, I've highlighted the 5141 Grand Avenue. The Grand Avenue property, as you can see in the aerial, is a single lot of record with a single family home, and the existing zoning district for that is R2 Residential Detached House 2. The eastern lot, the 417 2nd Street property, that is 2 lots of record. It is a vacant single family home with a detached garage. This property is zoned R6, residential apartment / condo 6. On the right side of this slide, I provided a photo for the public hearing notice that was set on the property on Fairview there. We also sent out mailed notices and published in the newspaper. Staff did not receive any public inquiries. Here I provided the plat of survey for your review, and then just for legibility, I wanted to highlight the property lines in yellow. So that is the 417 2nd property. Next, I've highlighted the existing structures on the lot that are proposed to be demolished. Demolishing these structures would allow the petitioner to build a new pool house that would serve the 5141 Grand Avenue property. Here I provided the overall site plan, just showing how the 417 2nd property relates to the 5141 Grand Avenue property. In blue, I highlighted the proposed new pool house. And then in purple, I wanted to highlight the proposed driveway. So as the petitioner indicated, the property does receive access via Fairview Avenue through an existing private cross-access agreement with the adjacent property owner to the east, and that would be maintained. I also wanted to highlight that in this zoning district, the R6, an accessory structure on a lot prior to a principal structure is an allowable special use. Here I wanted to provide the elevations for your review. I wanted to highlight that the proposed structure does meet all of the regulations associated with accessory structures in our zoning ordinance. And then I've also provided the floor plans for reference. Next, I wanted to pivot and look at the comprehensive plan. So I did want to highlight that the proposal is not consistent with the intent of the future land use plan. However, as you've seen in the plat of survey, the parcel's location is unique in that it's landlocked. It doesn't have any street frontage. So it is difficult to have a development of a type of multifamily residential use. That is a challenge there. However, it does meet, and it is consistent with the residential uses to the west. The comprehensive plan has a housing and neighborhood recommendation that includes promoting home renovation and maintaining the appeal of established neighborhoods. Finally, on this slide, I provided the special use criteria for your review. Staff does find that all of the standards have been met and does recommend approval of petition 26 PZC 0013 Should the Planning and Zoning Commission agree, a draft motion can be found on pages 191 and 192 of the overall agenda packet. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take those now. Thank you.
Mr. Lincoln?
So the accessory units that are already allowed, typically would those be on a lot where there's also a house? Is it kind of odd to have one where it's on a lot all by itself with no dwelling? Is that unusual in the village?
We had other petitions before the Planning and Zoning Commission where folks are asking to establish an accessory use without a principal building. Most recently, I think we had one maybe in 2024 or 2023
Carpenter.
on Carpenter. That's correct. And before that, we've had 2 other requests, I believe, just in the last 8 years that we've been here.
Largely garages, and even the one on Carpenter was a garage with an entertainment room.
Mhm.
Actually, I think that's a vast majority of most of them that this group has seen in the last couple of years.
It's kind of like buying this neighboring property so that you can have a bigger garage or, move your garage away from the house.
Yeah.
Do you know about the history of that? I mean, I feel like I could take a reasonable guess that Second Street used to go west of Fairview. That house was probably there when that happened and then kind of became isolated because now we have these new buildings to the south, which now face Fairview, and now you kind of have this orphan. Like, do we know the history of
It
why
appears so, but I'm gonna get right to the question that I know Chairman Rickard's gonna ask is this is a private easement. It was a easement that was put together by 2 private properties. When we get this question, for instance, when there's permits that come through, our direct answer always is that is a private easement among the 2 private property owners to figure out. This was not a village imposed easements on the properties. We have seen cases before where we ask for a cross access easement, typically with commercial developments over there too. But if my village attorney was sitting here, she would likely say that we don't mess with those private easements. That is something that has to be figured out amongst the 2 private properties, the grantees and the benefiter in this case too. So that would
So the
be.
village had no say in it. It probably was, so that's I was kind of getting to a similar path he was. It's like maybe the road was there, but then we took the road away and then said, well, because we're taking the road away, you need to guarantee access. But that was not a stipulation from the village itself. That was something done private party to private party.
Yes.
So theoretically, that agreement could go away. We'd have no purview over it. It could just go away or it could stay. It's outside of.
It's a private matter between 2
Yeah.
private property owners, correct?
So between which property owners?
The subject property for 417 Seconds and then 5118 Fairview is where that ingress egress easement goes across. So again, it's between those 2 property owners, not the village.
But it seems like somewhere along the line, 5128 would have been involved.
Not with the way that it's drawn on there.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
If also, if you look at kind of like on Google Street Viewer, if you drive by there, there's kind of like some bollards that block off the parking of 5128.
bollards,
Yeah, I know.
okay.
It's like it blocks off the parking 5128. And there's
Okay.
kind of like this alley behind them that goes to the driveway.
It's like a dirtish road.
Yeah.
It's not feasible to build a new house on this lot or anything like that. So I look at it, the usage seems like probably one of the most appropriate things. But yeah, I too am trying to understand the easement. And so it would appear that we really have no jurisdiction over it though. It's not ours to say yes or no to.
That's my understanding too, from now that Jason kind of clarified it.
My only other question, and I think this was just answered actually indirectly, but so previously this was a residence. Someone did live there
Correct.
and had to use that to get to their house, but okay. It wasn't like a business or an apartment. It was just a single family.
From our knowledge, correct.
Is there a plan to combine the lots are they requesting that as well or not? Or that lot in Grand Avenue and the lot in question?
That's a great question, Commissioner Reyes. So the 2 properties are in different zoning districts, so they cannot be consolidated.
Yeah, that's the part that is really bothering me. That's the one question that I have is why would we approve that? This is not in the correct zoning designation, and it doesn't comply with the comprehensive plan. So I'm just really curious, like how we got here.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, it sounds like the thought process is it's not a whole lot of value for any other purpose.
Because I see it,
It has-
the way it's located, it seems like it would be, I know I'm talking to you now, like I'm speeding ahead, but, it seems like it should remain multifamily and that those two other properties might want to expand, into beyond their parking. I don't know. We've sat here were we here last week or the week before about finding places for more housing? And here we're going to allow an accessory unit that looks awfully, like a unit that could be rented out to me. And to be maintaining the access through here is something here doesn't feel right.
I agree.
I don't understand it.
I agree with you on that. I feel that this zoning should stay the same. We are, in a position where we should be looking for locations in which to build more multifamily living. And I think taking this away from this particular area would be a mistake. Even though it doesn't seem obvious at the moment, it doesn't mean that it's impossible to develop that area into something multifamily. And I feel like that's a much better use that fits much more in line with what the comprehensive plan is. I don't feel like this has been well thought out for, future use of, best practices for the village.
Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure.
This is more for staff. So since these parcels will not be combined, if the petitioner was to sell their house at 5141 Grand, what's the scenario that happens with the secondary structure upon the sale? There's
two scenarios that could occur on this one. This is a condition that we've used consistently across with other special uses. If 5141 sells 5141, but not 417, it's not part of the same real estate transaction. 417 will have to be demolished. That is what we have done with other special uses in this case. Or the owner does have the option to sell 5141 and 417 to that new property owner, and then the structure can stay. That's what the condition is represented in the staff report right now. They come as one bundle.
Okay.
And then if for some reason 5141 again sells without it, they have to demolish. We've actually done that in every single special use that you've looked at, so you don't have an accessory structure on its own. A comment was made that you can rent it. I just want to make sure everybody's aware that we do not allow accessory dwelling units to be rented with our current ordinance. I know that's something we are reviewing with the future text amendment, so it does have to be looked under the lens of our existing zoning ordinance. So that's not even feasible today to do that. One more item to add to that is that it's not even the right zoning or change in the zoning. I just want to make sure it's understood that this is an allowable special use, regardless if there's two different zoning districts. You can do this in the R6, just like you can do in the R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5. Accessory structures are allowed to come to this process to be asked for a special use, but it obviously has to be associated with an adjacent property. And in this case, it is 5141. Yes, unique, two different zoning districts, but it is an allowable special use for
So
this district.
do they still need the access from Fairview? It doesn't seem like they would need the access from Fairview if it's accessory to 5141.
That's certainly some commentary. And my earlier point on that too is I know there's a private ingress egress. We're still not gonna, we should not give any discussion on that because it is a private amongst property, but certainly it is the purview of this planning and zoning commission if they don't feel the physical access should be constructed onto this property that is open for discussion. But not the easement that has to be discussed between the two property owners. I'm sorry if I'm sounding redundant, but that's very important that everybody understands.
Yeah, I feel like I missed something. So in the draft motion, the second suggested condition, a recorded plat of consolidation is required prior to occupancy issuance.
So the lot consolidation is for the 417 second property because it's composed of two lots of record.
Okay, that's,
Mhm.
yeah.
Missed that. My goodness.
I have another question. Kind of, it's like a question, but also like a thought experiment for staff. So I think like hearing some of the concerns about, this is not matching the comp plan and, the whole idea is we're trying to build more housing. But because these lots are not being consolidated and they're still going to maintain their zoning. So theoretically, the one to the east that allows a more dense zoning as part of the kind of the Fairview area. Theoretically, if some of those other apartment buildings decided, those lots wanted to consolidate, they wanted to build a bigger unit and absorb to the west, they could still buy that on the private market as a separate lot because they have matching zoning. So if that opportunity were to come along, that could still happen. This isn't necessarily precluding, we're not changing the zone, we're not precluding some future use where there could be a bigger apartment building or.
That's correct. The zoning is going to remain R6. We're not changing the zoning as part of this request. So in theory, if there's a future development that came forward that looked at using that property, and again, private parties negotiated a land sale, it could be used for a type of multifamily or whatever's allowed under the R6.
And I did just want to quickly comment too. I thank you for pointing us to, I missed the number 3 because I was going to have a concern about that. But this needed to go back to make it easy for us to use it on the Fairview side if they no longer needed it for the pool house. And it was like written right there. So that makes total sense that if the sale was to happen, these cannot be just like, you can't just keep it and not allow us the opportunity to review it again as possible use on the Fairview side for the housing that is in the comp plan. So.
And so question, Flora, is there a reason why the pool house couldn't be built on 5141's lot? It looks like it would fit.
It's not the request in front of the planning and zoning. We have to look at what's in front of you right now.
No, but I'm wondering why they went outside of their property.
The petitioner could respond to that if they so choose on that one.
Any other questions for staff?
Yeah, I have a question. How long has 417 been vacant?
I don't have that information, but we could look into it.
And potentially the petitioner knows too, if they did purchase it recently.
And it's a single family home on the lot, right?
Correct,
But
with
it's
a
zoned
detached
multifamily.
garage. Yes.
So it changed post, or there was a special. At what point did the zoning become multifamily versus single family?
It has been like this for quite some time. I don't have the date on when the R6 zoning became this, but it's been a while.
So that house has been non-conforming for a while.
And was this property recently up for sale then?
It's my understanding, yes.
And there's been discussion on these other buildings expanding into it. One of them apparently expressed interest in doing so.
We did not have any permits in front of us that demonstrated that or zoning applications in front of this group.
Anything else for staff? Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the petitioner. You feel like you want to address anything that's been said, now's the chance, or if you just want to make any kind of closing comments, this would be the time for that too, before we kind of deliberate up here.
Yeah, my only comment is that I've been on Grand for 13 years and it's been vacant for about 10 years. It's been nothing but issues. High school parties, homeless people living there, and a lot of other bad things I don't really want to discuss. So one of the things I wanted was protection. Trying to stop that whole issue was the big reason I wanted the property.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably now you know how long it's been vacant, obviously.
Right.
So, and then again, which was also brought up earlier, by putting this structure on, if they ever sell this property, or if somebody were to present themselves to Jeff and his family for, something with the condominiums or something, totally open to that. You just didn't want to look at it being vacant and continuing to be vacant in perpetuity.
Do you have an answer to why this accessory structure couldn't be put on your lot on Grand?
I would assume that would be a water issue. When we built the pool, it was very, very hard to be within the bounds of the Downers Grove, the amount of work we had to do for landscaping to not have, what was the rule on
detention?
Detention pond or whatever, detention. I don't think I'd be able to pass because of that.
There's a little bit of LPDA back there.
When was the pool put in?
5 years ago.
Okay, anything else you'd like to say?
We're good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I've got a question for staff real quick. There were a couple questions asked at that point. I don't need to go back to the public for those, do I?
No, this was proper what we usually do with this, to address any questions that have been asked by the public or the commission in this case. So if you feel like you've gotten all the answers you needed before you start deliberation, that would be the time.
Yeah.
So
Everybody got all their questions out there, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so, all right, so we're at deliberation here now. Any discussion on this item? Mr. Lincoln?
I mean, there's a lot of things we've talked about and it kind of seems tricky, but then to me, just like the special use itself is, I don't view it as all that tricky. Really about the only one that we could maybe argue is using it for this special use. Is it bothering the neighbors? But really the only thing that came up where it might bother the neighbors is not something we really have purview over anyway. So to me, it's now boiling down to, is it really our place to tell them what we know, where they put their pool house on their property? They bought it. They're meeting all of the requirements of where to put it. It's meeting the zoning code. And really our role in the special use is just to make sure that it's, not a detriment to the health and safety of the community as a whole. It's not injuring the neighbors or messing with their property values. If it's true that this was a vacant lot for quite some time and was being used for shady activities, it probably is not hurting the property values by them making a pool house there. Not impeding orderly development or improvement of adjacent properties. We're not changing the outline of the lot. The lot's staying the same. So I don't know how it's really affecting the other properties. We're not changing the zone. So if such point in the future, neighboring structures with condos and apartments decide they want a bigger condo, we can move closer to that part of the comp plan. They would have the opportunity to buy it on the private market from them, demolish this, pool house. And then when the market is ready for that kind of apartment, we can move towards that. Then the only other one is it's expressly authorized, which it is. So to me, when we really get to just the four things we're supposed to consider, it meets it. And I don't know that it's really our place to argue where the pool house is located, whether we like it or don't like it, or it's west or east. Even if I have my own opinions on it, that's really not what's before us. So I'm in favor, just based upon, the limited review that is in our special use purview.
Yeah, I agree. I think the conditions have been met. I don't think it's up to us to decide some of the things we were discussing. We were talking last week about having more multifamily or more housing opportunities, but this is a private lot. They were asking to do something that's permitted in the private lot, so I can see. Be afraid to say no.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Reyes and Mr. Lincoln both. I won't repeat it, but those are my thoughts as well.
I'm in agreement as well. I believe the standards have been met, and this is a clear improvement of this land or of this property.
I disagree. I think this doesn't fit within the comprehensive plan, and I don't think this is an appropriate use for this land. And if he's worried about people, living in the home or, homelessness issues or whatever, he can report those issues, or he can demolish the house and leave the land open. I don't think it's necessary to have this excessively large development here in this area that needs more multifamily housing. So I disagree.
No, I agree with Commissioner Frankovich. It just doesn't make any sense to me that you would put a party house back here.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm just really troubled by it. I can't.
Wolf, do you have anything?
Similar to the previous case, I feel like in general, we do need to, think through multifamily housing and opportunities for that. But when I learned that this has been vacant for so long, that I think it's an improvement to approve this motion.
Anybody else before we call for a motion?
But just the fact that they've purchased this land, they don't have to develop it with a party house.
Right. That's fair.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess
the zoning code says
So
that they can.
No, but the ask was to put the accessory use up there before there's another, a primary use on that lot, right? Isn't that the ask?
The ask is whenever you do when you're doing an accessory unit, we have to review it case by case to make sure that it's authorized in the district, that it's not a detriment to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community, that it's not injurious to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the immediate area for the purposes that are permitted, and that it's not going to impede the normal and orderly development of the properties around it. Like that's literally the from section 28.12.50H of the code of what we're reviewing.
I mean, I think you could argue the fourth condition there a little bit because, you know, considering what the development around that lot is primarily is not, you know, you have on Grand the single family homes, but on the other side, you have multi-residential units. So you could argue that last point does not fit. And I think ultimately part of our job is to make sure that any developments that are happening are fitting within the comprehensive plan. This clearly does not. And I feel that, you know, you're making assumptions that they're going to want to sell this at some point and demolish it. I don't think that's necessarily what their intention is long-term. Even though they can, it doesn't mean that they will, right? And again, we're losing more space within the village that we need for those multi-unit developments. So that's why I'm an A on that.
Yeah, the fact that it's requires a special use, I mean, it's allowed. I mean, this is allowed to go there. It's really the intent of a special use is if there's something that somebody's proposing there, that's allowed. It's special use is an allowed use. If there's something unique going on there that would have adverse impact on the surrounding property owners, like we do at drive-throughs a lot of times. Drive-throughs are always a special use because sometimes they have, dependent on what's immediately around them, they have certain things that are concerns. But in this case, the way I view it, I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying, but it meets the requirements. And this isn't a permanent change. You know, it might sell in 10 years to somebody who's going to put multifamily there. And this is just a temporary, it turns out to be something temporary.
Or are we
So
going to
I
be
can't
sitting
think of
here?
anything that I would condition this with to make it
And that's
more
what it boils down
attractive.
to is the
And that's
conditions.
really what we're kind of tasked with doing with a special use. I mean, it's an allowed use.
But
But is
basically,
there anything going on that you feel the need to place conditions on it to make it fit in that location?
I have a question with this. I mean, I have an issue with the fact that we're going to allow somebody just because they can to build a party house for themselves when their issue is that it's already a party house in general that's being used by other people. So we're essentially allowing them to make the same thing that's there and just attach it to their property.
I don't think that's a fair
I think we're making assumptions.
That's what it sounds like to me in a lot of cases.
And that's fair. I just think we're making assumptions about what a party house is, and we are not afford to decide who is a party house and who isn't. And if there's any complaints can
That's
still
why we have
be-
code enforcement.
Yeah, exactly. There's any complaints can still be made. I mean, I don't think that's up to us to decide.
Well, I know that Jason said that, you know, down the road, if these parcels were sold separately, they would demolish this, but I know that we will be sitting here reviewing somebody else's request to have that structure stay there and be converted into a single family home or, you know, something along those lines that will not conform to the R6. So, you know, once we have something there, and maybe I'm making assumptions that looks like it's going to be a high quality build. It doesn't look like a shed or a pump house or a changing room, which is what I initially thought when I started reviewing this. When it said pool house, that's what I pictured was, you know, maybe it's a toilet with a changing room and, you know, and a shower. But no, this is it's a man cave or whatever, you know. And it looks like it will be nice. I don't see demolishing something like that. That seems wasteful.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think the question is is this legal and does it meet the standards? And my opinion is that it does. And I don't know that it's fair to try to assume why they're doing it or what may happen in the future. I mean, those are possibilities and they could be concerns, but none of us here know. They probably don't even know what they may do with this in 10 years, 15 years. So, I mean, I think you got to look at it for what it is, what it's being proposed as, and does it meet the standards? I mean, they have a right to develop their property within, the ordinances and codes.
But they're maintaining it with a separate access. So it's not being treated as part of their property, and it still has a tail going out to the south that isn't, just is out there.
And again, this is not new information, just as a point of clarification, as deliberates, I do recommend looking at condition 4, which is requiring a direct connection from the pool house to the 5141 Grand Avenue property before we issue the certificate of occupancy on this one.
Any other comments? Discussion?
Is there a fence? Did I miss this? Was there a fence around this new property, 417?
I don't know. I don't know that it's a requirement. I didn't see one, but
Because
not sure.
I'm still struggling to understand how this makes a better solution to what was already there. So, and to say a direct connection, which could be a couple of pavers, is kind of arbitrary.
It's a pavers or a sidewalk as approved by the community development director.
Any other discussion? I don't know if you're still thinking or if you got to follow.
I'm done.
Okay. All right. Somebody ready to move on this?
Mr. Chairman, I suppose I will make the motion. I move that we recommend for approval 26-PZC-001-0013, subject to the 4 conditions outlined in the staff report.
Okay, motion by Mr. Lincoln. Is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Mr. Reyes. Roll call.
All right, we got Lincoln,
Aye.
Reyes,
Aye.
Frankovic,
Nay.
Patel,
Aye.
Eberhard,
Nay.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Chairman Rickard.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
Okay. Good luck at the next step. I won't repeat the normal. All right, we'll move into 4th hearing. 26 PZC 0015, seeking approval of a plan unit development amendment in the General Services and Highway Business Plan Development number 68, which is B3 PD 68 zoning district to construct a new auto dealership. Property is located directly northwest of the intersection of Florence Avenue and Ogden Avenue, commonly known as 330 Ogden Avenue, made up of multiple parcels listed. Axios Architects and Consultants, Inc. is a petitioner, and Patricia Enterprises is the owner. With that, if you want to introduce yourselves, and then the floor is yours to.
Lance Shelsley, Axios Architects.
David Gonzalez representing Fields Auto Group and ICI.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate you having this time to be able to hear this proposal. As we express, we're trying to conduct something that we believe is favorable for our community. It's basically a day and night of what's happening right now with the facility. And before we run into some of the information that we're gonna share, just a quick snapshot of what the current location is. It's a two-building structure, separated. One looks like a finger pointed towards Ogden, completely blocks the way out of what's currently a Bentley and a Lamborghini dealership. Has no presence, is in dire need for anything else other than what it is right now. Obviously, this proposal and this request is for an amendment to the already approved PUD that was established in 2024.
2024.
And with that in mind, we would like to actually present to you what Fields Auto Group is. Fields Auto Group is a group that has established now over 80 dealerships across the nation. Their main purpose is really to serve their customers and along the way, obviously, do as best as they can towards the community they do business towards. They do special events, charity events as part of the dealership that we build towards them or for them. And with that in mind, we're going to play just a quick video clip of, oh, it's not showing up in here.
It was towards the end.
Okay.
One more.
Existing building and site conditions really do not allow Fields Auto Group to properly engage its operations. The Fields operations, as we described before, have in essence the vibrant connections and service that for over 5 decades Fields has brought to their customers, cities, villages, where Fields do business across, as we said before, the nations. We see the existing facilities in dire need of improvements. Thus, what do we do? Why don't we just think of something new? Something that respects the neighborhood context and village and urban design fabric, create character with a creative building solution, maintains stewardship with sustainable practices, both business and building, and also infuse those connections and collaboration with the community and village in general. The question then is, what do we do? What do we do with this? By proposing a new development of a new building that will house 3 of the top brands, one of them Bentley, another one Lamborghini, and we're bringing in Rolls-Royce as part of the equation. This new building will consider 3 showrooms. The spectrum is 275 feet of showroom space as the main facade along Ogden Avenue, and proposing obviously that the service side be on the back end of the facility behind the showroom. The front facade will utilize 20-foot scale for more approach towards a more humanistic approach to it, and at the same time respecting the village's fabric and setting what would be then providing with proper materials and elements that reflect the brand's uniqueness, and while portraying at the same time connections of building unity and site, that we believe it can become an authentic and a marquee auto dealerships for the community with working force that will be established as part of the expansion by bringing Rolls-Royce as part of the equation, and obviously will create growth as part of the tax revenue towards the village itself. I will lend the time to Lance so he can explain a little bit of how we are trying to approach this solution inside and some of the strategies that we are thinking of.
Thanks, David. And I want to first point out, thank you to the staff and for the collaboration. We thank you very much for your efforts. To go back a little bit, so this is a collaboration between Fields, ICI, Axios, and of course, Downers Grove staff. So the design development team is proposing an amendment, as David had said, to the previously approved plan development back in 2024. Some of the changes are the redesign of a west site along Ogden Avenue. Back to the site plan. So this is an overall site plan. The east side of Florence is an existing inventory lot that's already been completed as part of this project. The west is the new development. And unlike the previous development, this is going to be a totally new building. Before it was an addition, and we kept the finger building, worked around it, but now it's totally ground up new building. So phase one, if you can see the blue outline, phase one, the intent is to keep that blue outline as an existing building so that it remains in operation during the construction of phase one. Phase one, the Rolls-Royce brand highlighted in the light blue. Pink, I'm sorry, in the pink, will be constructed first, encapsulating about 18,812 square feet and 3,460 square foot mezzanine consisting of Rolls-Royce Service Center, Rolls-Royce showroom, and offices. The service area shell will be a precast structure with steel bar joists, providing a clear spanned service center and a parts mezzanine above. The showroom will essentially be a glass enclosure with accented ACM panels above. The west wall of phase one will include a temporary enclosure, which will be removed as phase two is being constructed. Delivery is critical, with the understanding that a certificate of occupancy will be needed to operate the Rolls-Royce brand prior to completing the Lamborghini and Bentley facilities, hence a two-phase project. Phase two will be to complete the Bentley and Lamborghini showrooms and associated facilities, housing an additional 17,433 square feet for a total footprint of 36,245 square feet. The two sites will contain a total of 163 parking spaces with a breakdown as follows: 61 inventory spaces already existing on the lot off Florence, and then 40 additional proposed on the west site. We are requesting a reduction of the proposed inventory spaces from the Downers Grove standard of 9 by 18 to 8 feet by 18. The requested variance from the zoning ordinance are appropriate and will provide efficient and orderly circulation and parking due to the very low turnover of these spaces, as they will be used for storing vehicles only, and the fact that only employees will be parking these vehicles. In light of these factors, we believe the width reductions are appropriate. We propose 29 customer and staff spaces highlighted on the north and east areas of the site. There are 24 service bay spaces and 9 display spaces up on the south side, the south end of the property along Ogden. The customer and display spaces are proposed to have permeable paving to mitigate the site's impact on Downers Grove stormwater system, and it yields approximately 4,174 square feet of permeable pavers. The site will also be improved with pedestrian access along both Ogden and Florence Avenue by way of differentiating the materials rather than striped identification. The pedestrian access walkways are proposed as concrete, highlighting them next to the asphalt drive aisles. Also, as part of this approval process, we are seeking to add 3 monument signs instead of the max permitted by Downers Grove of 2. Reason being is each brand requires their own individual pylon sign. We are also requesting to have 400 square feet for the overall sign area instead of the max allowed of 300 square feet. This plan shows truck turning radius. And what we did is we have accommodated fire truck apparatus and also radius for a WD-40 vehicle delivery truck. Landscape plan. On the north side of the property, we are preserving the existing trees and providing a 6-foot landscape buffer with an 8-foot high solid panel fence with a minimal openness. All the proposed new shrubs on this landscape plan are of native species to Illinois. We have exceeded Downers Grove's open space requirements on the west lot. We have a total of 11,388 square feet, which of that 7,759 square feet street yard open space, which equates to about 68%. Up in the corner is the mezzanine. This is the enlarged floor plan of the facility. Phase 1 and Phase 2 will encapsulate approximately a total footprint of 36,245 square foot, made up of vehicle service area, vehicle showrooms, and support spaces. The proposed parts mezzanine will encompass approximately 3,460 square feet. As David had previously stated, the service area of the building will be precast. The building height will be about 27 feet, which steps down to the showroom height of approximately 20 feet. We have proposed an aluminum sunshade at the showroom around the 3 sides of the showroom perimeter. Mechanical units will be screened as indicated in the upper corner. I don't see the approval criteria. Approval criteria, the zoning map amendment review and approval criteria of section 12.0301. The team will ensure compliance for the zoning map amendment review. Whether the proposed PUD plan and map amendment would be consistent with a comprehensive plan and any other adopted plans for the subject area. We believe the PUD is consistent with the village plan to widen the Ogden Avenue commercial corridor. Whether the PUD plan complies with PUD overlay district provisions of section 4.030, the PUD is and will be in full compliance. Whether the proposed development will result in public benefits that are greater than or at least equal to those that would have resulted from development under conventional zoning regulations. The PUD and the resulting dealership will provide additional tax revenue that will benefit the community in general. Whether appropriate terms and conditions have been imposed on the approval to protect the interests of surrounding property owners and residents, existing and future residents of the PUD and the general public. The development takes into consideration all surrounding property owners' interests and meets or exceeds expectations. That, any questions?
Any questions of the petitioner?
Um,
I keep looking over there first, so I went over here.
Yeah,
this
let her
time.
go.
They're always-
yeah, we're the troublemakers today. The traffic study is what I had questions about. So you didn't quite mention that. But I did review the tables there, and it looks like what you're proposing on this version of the PUD is twice as many. It was twice as many service appointments. Is that correct?
Correct, because of the integration of Rolls Royce, the hope is that more business will be coming.
And I did not see in the traffic study was condensed down to a memo. But I did not see the difference in impact, traffic impact. Do you have that handy or?
Yes, correct. The impact is not that great or that abnormal because a different type of business as a normal auto dealership would be. Most of the service appointments really are being done as courtesy shuttles to the customer, where someone will go and pick up the car at the house of the person, drop it, just ticket it, service it, and then drive it back.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's a very controlled environment in that sense for this type of facility at that. We're talking about top of the line.
So only
cars.
potential buyers are the ones that are going in and out of the site.
Correct. Correct. And it's more of a limited instances.
I have a question. I sense a deja vu talking about access to Fairview Avenue again. I noticed that it goes behind Five Guys in the other building there. There's the,
Yes, sir.
what is currently an alleyway, but this new building kind of goes the far back into the property. And I can see now, is this going to be a separate ingress and egress for customers on Fairview, or just being used by the
Well, part of
ownership?
great question. And yes, part of the strategy, it was to create a more open flow within the site rather than constraining everything to one or two means of going in and out of the site. We're opening and creating basically a whole loop around the site. So we're taking off.
So some customers wouldn't necessarily have to go down Florence.
No, not necessarily. Correct.
I have a question. Would you speak more to the thought given around, there's a lot of pedestrians and cyclists in your renderings. I'm curious if there were any, plans for improvement. I find that area quite unsafe to go through. And especially as a cyclist, it's really difficult to navigate more the adjacent properties than your own. But I'm just curious if there was any thought.
Right. Indeed, it's representational. However, yes, we have allocated more pedestrians paths within the site or Ogden towards the building, along Ogden and another one along Florence.
And with the amount of vehicles going through there, is there any protection or, change? I know that sometimes there's traffic calming or, visual cues, things that protect the pedestrians in that case.
As far as traffic relates against pedestrians we understand that high traffic really happens between certain hours. Yes, even though we're making this more of a human scale type of building, we're considering that the main intention is for someone that can walk through, it would not have any issues with walking towards the building. We're not asking for any additional side entrances. We're having the ones that are already there. We're just making it conformant to ordinance. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, helpful.
Mr. Lincoln?
So there was, one of the things that you were asking for that's different than our zoning code allows is the multiple signs. And you put in the rationale that each of the brand requires a pylon monument sign facing Ogden Avenue. I mean, is that a hard requirement where they literally will not let you operate this business if you don't have 3 separate signs?
Well, the hardship really becomes as part of, there's only a 10-foot high allowance by the village. And a 10-foot high allowance by the village will not allow for 2 or
multiple
3
logos.
Correct. And that's the reason why we're asking for that to be kindly provided as part of this amendment to the PUD, as well as same rationale. There's now 3 different tenants under the same building, which will require more square footage for building signage. We're respecting the ordinance as far as where it's supposed to be located, but we understand that now it's 3 tenants and not just 2.
So the turning radiuses that you have here, is that going to prevent any delivery vehicles from parking on Ogden from this point on, once this development is complete?
That's the intention. The intention is that a WB-40 carries 3 to 4 cars. And that's our understanding that the operation will happen.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
Just one. So the overall footprint hasn't changed, and the adjacency to the houses on Florence and immediately back there is the same. I know you have a fence there, and there's the one lot on the east side of Florence, which is presently looks empty, but putting the service at the back there, is there any noise issues that are going to come with that service on the north end of the building? Change anything, the dynamic of the noise to the adjacent neighbors to the north?
Question again. Part of the strategy that we follow is, as it was approved before, it was a little northwards of where we're proposing now. So we're trying to increase a little bit more of the separation along the lines that there's also utility that we're going to have to deal with. And we understand that rationale. So yeah, main point is that we're trying to create more separation as well.
And I can clarify for that too. So on this current plan, the service entrances are located on the west and the east side of the building, which is also the same as the previous plan. But what has changed on this one, there was also a service connection that was through the middle. It was going to be a connected building. So that has actually been removed on this one. So now the service entrances are only on and west east with no direct service bay opening to the north, which was part of the previous plan. And vehicles can circulate and go through the center of the building.
Anybody else?
Are you doing anything in particular with lighting? That's because, like, I mean, that property to the north is like right up to the fence line. Is there anything you're trying to do to minimize light impacts? I know dealerships a lot of times, you want vehicles to be seen at night.
Yes, we are changing all the side lighting. We're bringing down lumens, so LEDs, foot candles. We're installing shields to every light fixture along every proper line so that there's a cutoff and there's less glare towards the neighbors.
And for Commissioner Lincoln's benefit and the rest of the commission, there is a condition in the approval requiring such that it's he explained it correctly. Just so you know, there's a condition in the report.
Yeah, I might be confusing this one with the car wash, but I thought I remembered seeing light fixture. Yeah,
That's number 3. Reducing the heights.
yeah.
And we're obviously proposing fixtures that follow the dark sky initiative.
Okay, anybody else before we go to the public? No? Okay, thank you. We'll give you an opportunity to come back after public input and staff report to address anything you feel like you want to address.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody in the public who'd like to speak to this application? If you could start with your name, please, for the
Sure.
record.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Nervudis. We're actually a neighboring lot to the adjacent parking lot, which was, I think, a discussion point back in '24. I'm actually the president of the association. The issue that we want to bring up is that part of that development, which I don't think is the decisions or responsibility necessarily of these owners, because I think ownership changed since then. But what occurred is there was unauthorized pipe, a drainage pipe that was installed into our property, which I don't think is part of the permitted work, or like I mentioned, certainly not authorized by us as owners. And there's a detention area in our neighborhood, which I think was the intention is to drain this water into the detention area behind us. But again, that was not agreed upon. That was not authorized. And I'd like for you guys to take that in consideration when you review the approval process to build in some sort of procedure or process where, out of good faith, the harm that was caused is repaired to our neighborhood and to our neighbors.
Did you say, I just want to make sure I understand, that prior owner installed storm?
That is my assumption. I'm not, like I said, it's from the news that I've read. I believe the dealership ownership had changed. So it may have been the cause or the decisions of the prior owners.
Yeah. Would that be?
But this dates back to 24.
Doors right on my mouth, Chairman. Contact our office after this meeting. You can contact us 7:30 to 4:30 and put a code enforcement in case if you feel that that's what happened, and then we can have our enforcement team investigate.
Well, that's the somewhat of an inefficiency, right? Is I've called the village multiple times. I've left voicemails. I've gotten one phone call back, but that was it.
You can certainly call again. We're noting it right now. If you can leave your contact information with me before you leave this evening, I can look into it.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael Akowski. I'm also in the same townhouse association. I just want to show you the picture that Paul has been saying, that of the the unpermitted access of people digging this drainage pipe into our water retention easement, stormwater retention. That's all I wanted to show you.
Yeah, that's something staff will take up.
You want?
If somebody can leave your information on the back of it, both of you, and I can have my team look at it for sure.
Okay, is there anybody else in the public who would like to speak during this public hearing? Anybody? No? Okay, staff report.
Hello for the last time tonight.
You still Flora Leon?
Yeah, I'm still Flora Leon, yes. All right, so the petition before you tonight is 26 PZC0015. The address is 330 Ogden Avenue, and the request is for a plan unit development amendment to construct a new automobile dealership. Okay, here is the location map for your review. The property, as you know, is located on the north side of Ogden Avenue, to the east and west side of Florence Avenue. The existing zoning district is B3/PUD number 68. On the right-hand side, I provided a photo of the noticing. All noticing was completed, including mail notices, as well as the notice in the newspaper. We did receive one question from the public, and it was general in nature.
I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. We can kind of hear you guys talking back there a little bit. If you want to converse, if you could step outside the door, because it's actually picking up here. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
It's all good. Thanks. So I also just wanted to highlight just for some context, you can kind of see in the location map, I've indicated the existing auto dealership, and then you can see the existing inventory parking lot on the east side of Florence Avenue. Here is the existing plat of survey. As the petitioner indicated, it does include two buildings. So the purple building includes the Bentley and Lamborghini dealership. That's the 330 Ogden Avenue. And then the building in the green, that's 310. That's a used car dealership with accessory services. As I had mentioned, the inventory lot on the east side of Florence, it's not shown on this plat. I just wanted to highlight that that was constructed in 2025. There's no proposed changes at this time to that inventory lot with this petition. And for some additional context, some history on the site, as the petitioner indicated, PUD number 68 was established in 2024. While the current proposal is similar, there were enough changes that an amendment was required to account for the new site plan, as well as the master sign plan that's been presented tonight. Oh, sorry, and that's the overall boundary of the site. That was supposed to come first. Okay, let's take a look at the proposed site plan. So in purple, I've highlighted the new automobile dealership. As the petitioner indicated, that would be constructed in 2 phases. In red, I highlighted the existing access points on Ogden Avenue. The only change there is that the westernmost access point would be widened to provide for a two-way drive aisle. There's also another access point proposed on Florence Avenue. So that would actually be shifted to the north about 50 feet so that it lines up with the access point for the inventory lot on the east side of Florence Avenue. Since we're talking a little bit about circulation and access, I wanted to also share that a traffic memo was a part of the submission. The study did find that given the size of the dealership and the luxury type vehicles that are sold, lower volume of traffics are associated with this type of dealership. Next in green, I wanted to highlight some screening that's being proposed. So along the north and west property lines, the petitioner is including additional landscaping and an 8-foot solid fence. In yellow, you'll notice that the pedestrian connections are highlighted. There are 2 that are leading onto Ogden Avenue and 1 that connects out to the Florence Avenue sidewalk. Finally, I wanted to share that the petitioner's proposal does comply with the stormwater ordinance. Since there is existing detention on the site, that would be reviewed in more detail with the building permit submission. Here, I've provided the floor plan for your review. You'll see here that phase 1 is highlighted in pink, and then phase 2 is shown in yellow. The new dealership would include 3 showrooms, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, and Lamborghini, service offices, a vehicle delivery bay, automotive service center, and other uses including waiting areas, parts storage, as well as break rooms. Here I've provided the elevations for your review. As the petitioner noted, the primary building materials will include aluminum storefront windows, aluminum composite material panels, as well as steel framing members. The petitioner also kindly provided a material sample board here for your review if you'd like to look at it tonight. On this next slide, I wanted to go over the requested deviations. So there are 3 items. The first being the monument signs. So the petitioner is proposing 3 instead of the permitted 2. As they indicated, each vehicle brand does require a pylon monument sign. The next one is the total sign area. So the sign section of our ordinance includes a maximum of 300 square feet, and the petitioner is proposing 400 square feet to ensure that all brands have sufficient branding there. And then finally, the vehicle inventory parking stall. So where the typical width is 9 feet, they're proposing to reduce that to 8 feet. And they are sharing that the rationale is that there will be low turnover since that would be inventory parking. All right, the next few slides are dedicated to the comprehensive plan. So within that plan, we have the land use and development section, which calls this area out as corridor commercial and states that these types of land uses should be located in areas with a regional draw, also accounting for ensuring that they're not contributing to any traffic in the adjacent areas. Within the economic development section of the code, within the comprehensive plan, the plan itself does call for a balanced mix of land uses as well as ensuring long-term fiscal health and economic viability for the village. In addition to that, the plan also calls for targeted incentives as well as flexible zoning for specific areas. And we should continue to maintain and invest in existing stable commercial and employment centers. Within the economic development section, the plan also indicates that we should continue to work with local businesses to improve the physical appearance and encourage new developments that include EV charging stations, which this development does include along the east side on Florence. Here, I've provided the plan unit development amendment criteria for your review. Staff does find that all the standards of approval have been met. As such, staff does recommend approval of 26 PZC 0015. Should the Planning and Zoning Commission agree, a draft motion can be found on page 210 and 211 of the overall agenda packet. I would be happy to take any questions at this point. Thank you.
Okay.
Questions of staff? Mr. Lincoln?
There are other examples in the village of allowing the reduced parking width, the 8 instead of 9, I believe.
That's an excellent question. So for the Florence inventory lot, when you all reviewed this in 2023, the width was reduced for those parking stalls, and that was part of the original approval on the Florence inventory lot. So that's one kind of connected example.
It's different. That's not the PUD for this one that's being renewed, or it is.
Part of the PUD, there's just no additional improvements on that site.
So
but it is the
basically,
same.
it's staying the same. I mean, we're rereading the PUD, but it's the same requirement that at least part of this area already had the same.
The same deviation, correct? It's just that it was only included on the Florence lot, so we wanted to make sure that we received your review for that
the whole
deviation on this property. Yes.
Anywhere else other than this spot?
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but it's 9:49.
Yeah.
But
I'm
the
usually
public
pretty good at
parking,
that.
the customer parking remains to code. Correct?
That's correct.
The other question I had was, I'm trying to figure out what, because I've probably looked through the document several times. I was actually trying to figure out what it is that is the PUD, and maybe you just said it, and maybe it's now clicking in my head, is that, because it didn't look like anything really is all that different than the zoning code. It looked like a lot of the things meet the zoning code if there wasn't a PUD. Is the difference that there was a PUD for part of this lot already, and now we're expanding it to cover the whole thing? Is that why we're reviewing this? I guess I'm misunderstanding what we're actually reviewing other than the deviations.
Sure. So this petition is before you tonight because the site plan has changed. So Jason had talked a little bit about the circulation on the site and how the building has kind of shifted away from the existing residential neighborhood to the north. So there were enough changes that, and now there's a sign package that's included, and that's why this petition is here.
Or like the layout has changed as opposed to the specific things in the code that they're asking relief for. Those are mostly the same other than some of the sign things we've talked about already. But it's more like the drawing, where the buildings are going to be. And
Correct.
that's the thing.
The site plan itself.
These are site plan specific. So if they change the approved site plan,
Right.
they have to come back and amend it.
A lot of times they come back to us and there's little things like, oh, we want to deviate from the code with this parking thing or deviate from the code in this other way. And it looks like a lot of those things are not deviating from the code. So I was just trying to make sure I understood the specific thing that is changed and the specific things we're approving.
Yeah, Flora certainly knows this a lot better than me, but I do believe there's less deviations being requested now as it relates to the building and the site plan versus what was in here before. And not to duplicate your comment too, but it is portions of this building are pulled now further away from the residential with the new site plan.
And then my only other question was related to signs. Do we have any other examples of allowing 3 signs when the code would allow 2? What are some other examples where we would have allowed the deviation from the code for multiple signs as opposed to telling them to put all the logos on the signs that are available?
So could I add a question to that or a clarification? If you can refresh our memory on, because I know signage is kind of a sore point for a lot of people. How is that calculated for these type of sites? The signage, square footage and pylon signage?
Maybe I can start there. So first, we draw one continuous rectangle around a graphic for like a wall sign or the actual graphic on the monument sign. So when we look at the overall total, it's truly the aggregate. It's every wall sign plus the monument signs. And so when we add that up, it's typically that sites shall not exceed 300 square feet, and the petitioner is requesting the 400 square feet.
But doesn't that depend on the size of the site, or is it the size of the building?
Like, is it always 300 square feet? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I think I kind of.
Oh, I see. So yes, so typically it depends on the tenant frontage. So we look at the frontage of the building, anything that is directed towards the street, and we multiply that times 1.5, and that's how we figure out, okay, this site receives this amount of signage. this building is large enough that they get to have the maximum allowed, the 300, but in looking at their proposal, they're requesting an additional 100 to get to that, the 400 square feet. And if I can just pivot to your original question about, have we seen this before where we have additional monument signs? I would say for plan unit developments, it's common.
I got this one.
Yeah.
As you've been talking to buy me some time, and I appreciate that. We have done this on case-by-case basis. There is PUDs, which are commonly done for this, but just for recent memory, it's everything from shopping centers like Meadowbrook or the Grove down south to institutional uses like Herrick and O'Neill, and the high schools actually all received master sign plans on that too. When you get to single sites, Steinhoffel's, formerly Art Van Furniture, actually the whole purpose of putting that PUD together for the most part was for signage on that too, where they had additional wall signage, ground signs. Ashley Furniture to the east, technically not a PUD, but they did receive signage relief for additional wall signs too above what we
They have the
allow.
interstate there. They kind of probably wanted to draw traffic.
And there's a great issue on that too. So it has been done before in many different cases with many different types of uses. Just depends on the case in front of you.
It seems like shopping centers are pretty obvious because, sometimes there's so many businesses in there and it's how are you going to fit all the logos? This one seems a little bit different in that it's kind of one building, but with 3 tenants, so it's, but I feel like there's some, obviously shopping centers seem like that can make sense where you'd have to think about how much space you have for logos and words and all that. You don't want it to be so small. This is a little bit different, other than you said like Ashley Furniture, but that was also kind of on the.
And in theory,
interstate.
dealerships are sometimes a different animal as it comes to retail too. They got very distinct brand quality. And this is in the petitioner's response. This is not necessarily me saying this, but there are specific design requirements that each of those dealerships do have. This is unique that there's 3 different car brands on one subject property. 2, typically we see 1, maybe 2 if you go throughout the rest of the community on this too. So that's unique enough too with this site plan and building in front of you with a number of dealerships.
Yeah, and I would just add to, the shopping center discussion. Those shopping centers typically, they are allowed larger monument signs because those tend to be bigger lots that are zoned, B3. So the monument signs for this particular lot are limited to 36 square feet. So it's not, I don't know that it's a direct comparison, because the shopping centers tend to be larger. So I believe they get 60 square feet for their monument signs.
Yeah, and with this request, they're not asking for larger individual signs. That's going to go to the maximum that's allowed in our code. It's just the quantity. And again, the quantity is based off of the 3 brands that they have represented on this dealership. Dealerships, I think I'm technically supposed to say, right? Okay.
Any other questions for staff? No?
No.
Okay, we're going to go back to the petitioner. So it's just an opportunity for you to address anything that's come up since you were up last or to make any final comments that you'd like to make. You're not obligated to do anything, but if you'd like to, now's the chance.
I don't think we have any further.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, discussion.
Overall, I think I understand the signage. These are very, very distinct, bespoke brands. They all have their individual identity, and this is going to operate, it seems, as almost 3 separate dealerships, just all. So I understand the need for the separateness of them as long as they don't exceed the allowable general parameters for the signage on Ogden. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I do like the fact that the building is further away from the residents of South Florence. And if you look at the existing dealerships, they're really crowded on the Ogden Avenue right there. This seems to be going back, you get a little more pedestrian space, you got a little more green space. So the overall, is compliant with the PUD before, they seem to have taken a few extra steps here to actually make it better.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Berry as well. I think the new building is a great improvement based off of kind of the segmented, spaces that they have now. I think this really consolidates everything nicely and is going to look really good. And it's a great improvement for the lot.
I agree with that.
We've been trying to step through some of the requirements we have to look at, and a lot of them, it's like, not applicable, not applicable. Because it just, I don't know, it's like we're not putting in a new PUD for a new development. It's kind of like we're just approving a change. And really, I don't want to say I'm 100%. I feel like you could probably put the 3 logos on one sign. I don't know that I'm sold that we absolutely have to. I mean,
Which one would you put on top, Scott?
no, it's not for me to decide. It's not my place. But I mean, there's businesses all over, like, that have to deal with unique requirements of a given town. You know, I mean, you see all kinds of examples from big box stores, and they have to make their signs a certain way. And they may say, well, this is how we have to do our signs, but you want to, be in that town, that's how your signs have to be. So I'm not necessarily sold on it, but that's a small piece of this overall thing. And overall, I think most of the other things are pretty minor. And even the PUD itself, but most of it is it's literally just the changing of the plan. I mean, if you look at how it compares to the zoning code, there's, other than the signs, which is kind of small, everything matches what our zoning code would allow there anyway. So it seems almost kind of like a trivial PUD in a way. We've seen some that are asking for much more deviation and a lot more things that aren't compliant with the zoning code. So
I appreciate how it has pulled everything, cleaned up the kind of randomness that was there existing anyway, but seems nice and orderly and an asset to the community.
I agree also with all the comments. And just for the record, I did want to make a comment on the other deviation request, although it was in the previous PUD request, the requirement from 9 feet to 8 feet. Since this isn't accessible by customers, I think it's totally appropriate and reasonable for it to remain here as well.
I think my first reaction when I saw it was, I didn't think that it met, but I think that's the reason why it does meet, because it's not customer space. It's kind of their own employees are going to be handling it. But at first I had when I first went through the packet outside of the meeting, it didn't feel quite right. It was like, why are we, it just didn't seem like something that you could argue you needed. But then in this case, because it's
Just
not
consider
customers.
storage.
Yeah, it's just
Consider
storage
storage.
space, it's that kind of changes the game, I think.
Yeah, I feel like all 5 of these standards of approval for PUDs have been met. I don't know if anybody else wants to elaborate on that or have anything else that they want to say.
Not really.
No? Is there a motion? I can't do it.
That is correct.
We're missing our cheat sheet here, it's
It's on page 210.
Yes. Yeah, and then there are the 4 staff recommended conditions that go along with it.
Seems like it's just slightly worded differently, because normally there's like a whole sentence, like a preamble, and then it goes into it.
I'm just going to blame the new format on the memos, and we're going to get it right next time for you guys.
All right, fine, I'll just do it because I think I remember how I did it the last 2 times. Mr. Chairman, I would move that we recommend for approval 26-PZC-0015, subject to the 4 conditions outlined in the staff report.
Okay, motion by Mr. Lincoln, second by Mr. Barry. Roll call?
All right, Lincoln,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Frankovic,
Aye.
Patel,
Aye.
Eberhart,
Aye.
Reyes,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Chairman Rickard.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for hanging in there till whatever time it is, 10?
It's late.
10:02 p.m.
10:02.
We're still on Monday.
For a while. But we have had much longer in years prior. Staff.
I
comments?
will this Friday. I just figured you folks are getting tired of getting so many emails from me, but on this Friday, I'll just put out those dates again so you can mark your calendars and let us know if we have any issues with attendance, just because we will hold our regular scheduled meetings. I'm going as far as July, just to be quite honest, because we do have a caseload coming through. This was longer. I do appreciate it, but we are trying to balance other cases that we have coming through the system. So I hope not as long with some of the future ones, but we do have a couple of bigger cases coming through. We'll be cognizant of that. We also have to come back for the attainable housing study too, as I mentioned at the last meeting. There's another meeting for that too, which will take place in June, right? So I'm going to give you all the dates. And if you could just, once you get that email from me, respond back in a couple of business days. I know some of you probably have, maybe you do, some of your vacations planned already. Just so we can make sure we're not going to have any issues with quorum for any of those meetings to keep these things moving along. So again, appreciate it. It's been a while since we've been past 10 o'clock, but we should go home once the chair allows
Yeah.
somebody to make the motion to leave.
I'm assuming we didn't have public comments not on the agenda. I was just guessing.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Well, since no one's running up to the microphone, maybe I will motion to adjourn the meeting.
Maybe I will second that.
All right, motion by Mr. Rankin, second by Mr. Frank Vic to adjourn. Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 All right, we're adjourned.